Good afternoon. It is day 6 of the Alec Murdaugh murder trial, double homicide. He is accused of killing his wife and son. We are in the 6th day of trial, but like the 4th day of actual testimony. We started with opening statements late last week. We are still in the prosecution's case in chief, which means the prosecution is putting on their witnesses. So far, all of the witnesses we have really seen from the prosecution has been related to the crime scene. So, though we kind of know what's coming and got a bit of a preview in those opening statements, we're getting a lot of crime scene foundation, like a lot, like a lot. The the process of marking evidence and admitting evidence can be slow and can be tedious. This is expected to be a 3-week trial. This afternoon, we will get to cross-examination of the witness that's currently on the stand, who is a special agent with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, who took over investigation of this case the night of the homicide instead of local agencies. That special agent's name is, I'm not sure. It's in my notes. It's in my notes somewhere, but I'm notes and notes back. The most interesting thing we got this morning was a timeline of when Paul Murdaugh's best friend was texting him, which I found to be very, very interesting. So I will go back through my notes, and get us that witness's name as we get up onto the chat. The chat's probably already got it because chat is Bay and they know everything. Right before the lunch break, we heard Rogan Gibson is the friend. Special Agent Jeff Croft. Like, how did I forget Laura Croft's father already? Right before lunch, we got this $1,000 spend at Gucci that was circled. I wonder if the prosecution's going to say that somebody was arguing about somebody spending $1,000 at Gucci because the receipt was in the trash, but it was circled. And yes, that was a Gucci receipt. Wild. So we're going to go through that timeline. I'm going to roll the intro. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being Law Nerds. Replay crew, love you. We will mark times down below so you can get to the parts of testimony that you want to hear about. And with that, it is time to roll. We're going to roll the intro and we're going to talk, well, most of the day because they're going to be marking a lot of evidence and we have a lot to chat about. Let's go. Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it. So as we were breaking for lunch, we were talking a bit about the crime scene layout, and I grabbed the cleaner crime scene layout from Twitter. I also shared this out. The pool photographer is allowed to photograph evidence that's not under seal in the courtroom at breaks and at the end of the day. So Emily, share your screen. Are we ready to go? It's the afternoon. I did restart my computer to hope that it would fix the fact that my pointer isn't displaying on screen where I'm actually pointing it. So hopefully that will be fixed. Let's see if it's not. Nope, totally not. I'm gonna have to figure that out why it's not populating properly on StreamYard. Because when I'm showing my pointer on the legend on my end, it shouldn't be showing up to y'all in the middle. And it wasn't doing it last week. So that's frustrating. We're gonna figure it out. This is the crime scene layout. So we've got the legend, we've got the case information. We see that it was prepared by S.A.M. Worley. That's the witness that just testified. We see that it's signed and initialed up in the corner by that agent. I can't even get my pointer over enough on screen to show you where that is. We see where the doghouse is. We see where the small animal cages are down along the side. And we know that these items aren't to scale. But we also got information from one of the members in our chat who compiled photos and put them over on the Alex Murdaugh trial subreddit. And while I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, and I have not spent a lot of time on this Reddit, we are going to talk about the analysis they put together. So thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for mentioning it. And thank you for posting these where we can all see them. So this is someone who's watching the trial and is a law nerd here, putting these together based on the photos and the testimony. So thank you for marking it. This is not evidence in the trial, but this is put together from watching the trial. So if that's something you're interested in, it is the Alex Murdaugh trial subreddit showing the main house, the parking structure. This is where like the vehicles were parked, and we heard some testimony about tire tread going in and out of there. This is the hangar with the physical workshop in there, and then overhangs on both sides of that red tin roof. This is where, Maggie's body was found, Paul, the kennels, the feed room, and where the police came in and parked on this road that goes in and out of the house. There's also a main road that comes in and out of the house, and we talk about that quite a lot. So parking structure, this is where they were saying the ATV UTV was parked, and then where the quail enclosure is under the overhang. So that is the ATV UTV that wasn't tested but had biological material on it, and we heard about that in the morning. So then we've got the small doghouse where Maggie's body was near the doghouse, the grapevines that were discussed in the kennels. Now, they were talking about those grapevines being quite large. We have not seen that. So then we've got, in this angle, you can see them a little better, those grapevines behind the behind the whatever these are, the kennels that are right there. So part of that, you've got the feed shed area, more kennels, Paul, the ATV hangar overhang, Maggie, and then the parking structure that they talk about where things were coming in and out of. This is a different view of that with the doghouse, the kennels, the hangar overhang, the parking area, and where the police were coming in. It's really well put together based on the testimony that we've seen, and I always appreciate demonstratives. The jury, of course, has more demonstratives than we have, but I know my cursor is off. I'm sorry. I can't fix it, and I can't show it. I tried. The cursor is the problem. The cursor's like, I'm the problem. It's me. Why would things run smoothly? Nope. Court is supposed to be in session about 2 minutes ago. And this court takes a little bit of sweet tea time. They don't always start exactly on time, so I'm never surprised when this court does not start on time, but I am monitoring it. Last week you changed cursors. I did change cursors. Maybe it's time to reset it. I can try resetting it and see if that helps. But it didn't seem like it was an issue. I don't know if there's lag, but I did change it so that the cursor would be a bit larger under accessibility so we could see it better. And now it's just causing itself all of the it's making itself the problem. It's like, I'm the problem, it's me. It sounds like court is coming back. I will try to fix this a little bit more at the break and see if that helps. But I am hearing the court on the bench, Judge Clifton Newman, and of course, other channels take a little longer to come back.
We can have our witness back.
So we're going to start with this one for now, and then we'll switch over when it looks like
bring the jury.
Oh, he's just ready. Bring the action. You may bring the jury. Oh, my mouse is, now that I've made it a little smaller. Oh, no, it's still not lining up. Where I'm touching the microphone on my screen. I'm touching the microphone, and it's put the mouse right on Judge Newman's face. I will figure that out after stream. We tried to do all the things today. So let me switch feeds and see. The audio on that feed is so much better. Maybe I'll leave this feed audio off, put this feed audio on, and hope that they are synced well. If they're not, I'll fix it. But we'll just see how it goes, because the audio on the court or the law and crime feed is always, it's like somebody took it in the control room and gained it up, and it is challenging because it is like overgained. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll mess with it. We're trying to get the best user experience when I have little control over anything. All the jurors are present.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Senior Special Agent Croft, a couple things I want to kind of go back to just as a housekeeping matter before we move on to new matter. And
it's just a little off. All right. This sound's going to be off enough to drive us all crazy. So, yeah, they've gained the audio up on their end, but it does make it difficult because it picks up so much.
All right. So I'm going to show you some images.
And it is gained up so high.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit.
All right.
First, 163,
Special Agent Croft.
173, 158, 175, 176, 177, 179, 180, 181, and 183. And just have you generally flip through those and see if you recognize those images.
So we're going back through images.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and just generally, what are these images of, if you wouldn't?
Those are still images taken from my body-worn camera the day of the 8th.
So these are still images from the body-worn cameras that the jury saw prior to lunch?
From the morning.
That is correct.
Morning of the
Well,
8th.
Your Honor, this time the state would move in states 163, 173, 15, 175, 176, 177, 179, 180, 181,
resuming with
and
direct.
183, I believe, without objection.
No objection.
Admitted.
All right, let's go through these real quick if we could, if I could get the input to the Elmo. Looks like it is on the Elmo. All right.
Yeah, let's go
We
through
got
them.
this fancy hood up here.
They're talking about the
See
Elmo.
if that'll do better for us. All right.
I don't know
can
what
you tell
these
me what
photos
this
are.
image is of, please? And this, for
And
the
we'll see.
record, my apologies, would be states 163.
Yes, I love this, Scott and Stacy. Bring
That
the
is a
jury.
picture of the pool table
jury
in
in
the
the
gun
box.
room that with the 300 or AR-15 300 blackout sitting on the pool table, which I collected out
This is
of
the
gun
gun.
room.
It sounds like this
All
is
right.
the gun
And that
room.
person right there, who is that?
That is Mark Bull.
All right. I'm going to show the jury now 173.
So these
Tell
are
me
still
what this
images of
image
the
is,
gun room.
That is that AR-15 rifle 300 blackout sitting in the gun wall before it was pulled from the gun wall, placed on the table.
All right. Still image 158. Can you tell me what that is, please?
That is what I was describing as the side door, which enters to the gun room without going through the main part of the house. The stoop
So there's a door to the
and out in
outside
front
on
of
the
that
side
is-
of the gun room.
is where items were collected.
And what items are you talking about?
The 5 300 spent shell casings were collected outside, out in front of
Those are the ones that are
stoop.
going to match to the other
Going
casings.
to go now to exhibit 175. And what is that image?
That is the same side door, just a different angle. Same stoop.
All right.
And again, those are critical.
176. Tell me what that is, please.
That is the brick landing at the bottom of the stoop. And just in the center, down low, close to the bottom, you can see a 300, spent 300 blackout casing.
What am I pointing out with my finger right now?
That is the spent 300 blackout casing.
All right. Go to exhibit number 177. Tell me what this still image from your body cam reflects.
That is my hand, and I have picked up a spent 300 blackout casing from the side of the stoop.
All right.
These casings
179.
matter.
Those are the 300 blackout casings which were collected at the in front of the stoop.
All right. And now 180.
These are the casings that are matched to the
That is
casings
the
found around
left-hand
Maggie's
side
body.
of the
This is peeking so badly.
entrance of the gun room, just in the flower bed.
All right. And do we see cases in that image? You step down if you need
One
to.
of these days, I might just have to switch.
I know your
A
screen's
spent
pretty small.
casing
You need to step
has
down.
been shot out of a gun, and it'll have tool marks. So the spent casings that are near the door of the gun room are matched to the spent casings near Maggie Murdaugh's body. So that's
I can't pick it out on that picture.
The type of ammo can be bought anywhere, but the casing will be marked by the gun that ejects it.
180.
But it's the same ammo that the family uses.
Yes, sir. It will be at the bottom of the picture, about in the center.
All right, let me have you come around. Or you can do it. I'm gonna put it back up and do it screen for the
Yeah,
jury,
Creighton, we
please.
can't hear you at all.
It'll be right here.
All right, sounds good. You can retake the stand, please.
It sounds like they're switching between microphones when he takes the stand
Moving
back.
on to 181. Tell the jury what this still image reflects, please.
That is three of the 300 blackout spent casings that was collected at the base of this, at the front of the stoop.
All right. And then finally, jumping the gun, we have 183. Tell me what that reflects.
That would be to the, I believe, the right-hand side of the stoop, and just at the end of my hand, I'm fixing to pick up a spent 300 blackout casing.
What is my finger pointing to right there?
That is the 300 blackout casing.
So it's where he's grabbing them
Talking
from.
about.
These are stills in the body from the body camera. So those stills are showing him.
Right before lunch,
picking it up.
there was admitted in the evidence states 152 and 151. And you got your readers with you?
I do, yes.
Can you remind us where those items were?
You got
collected,
your
please?
readers with you.
The
He's like,
ammo
sir, I'm
was
wearing them.
collected from the shelving in the gun room, 300 blackout ammo on 9/13 of 21. And the 300 blackout the 243 magazine with 300 blackout ammo in it was collected from a black Ford F-150 that was located on the property.
And you got a knife on you?
I do, yes, sir.
You mind opening that exhibit for us? And let's take a look at those items, please.
Does he want him to open it with the iPhone? I'm confused what his possession of an iPhone has to do with it. Agent, wise choice bringing your put it back in your pocket. Wise choice bringing your unboxing knife to court so you didn't have to fuck with the scissors that poor other agent was struggling with the entire time. So, I thought he said, do you have an iPhone on you? Why is the knife allowed in court? The knife's allowed in court because he is a law enforcement officer and because he's going to be doing this. So that's not going to be a problem for
The
the
brown
court.
bag is also.
I do, please.
So he's going to be opening the brown bag. Did he say got a knife on you? Oh, he did say got a knife on you. I thought he said got an iPhone on you. That's very distinctly what I heard, which is so confusing. My brain is now working in closed captioning and not actually what they're saying in court. I'm glad you all heard it. So that's why. Let's see. Doesn't it just prove that someone who has shot there and uses that ammo shot them, not specifically that it was him? It proves that the family weapon that's missing was the one used in the murders.
First, okay. Can you
That's what it
remove the
proves.
item from its packaging, please?
And now we're getting gloves to remove specific items of evidence. But yes, it goes to the weapon that shot Maggie Murdaugh is a family weapon that was regularly shot on this property using the same ammo that's in the gun room. And it is a weapon that was purchased by Paul Murdaugh that they'll connect through circumstantial evidence, and it's missing. Does it show that it was in Alec's hand? No, it does not.
What you got there?
It's a magazine which fits the AR style rifle that is loaded with 300 blackout ammunition.
All right. And can you see what brand that is on there?
Okay, I'm not the only one who heard
Rounds you can see?
iPhone.
Appears to be S&B 300 blackout.
S&B 300 blackout.
Yes, sir.
Let me take that item.
Where did that come from? So this is a magazine with an SMB 300 blackout. Don't call it a clip, by the way. People will remind you that it is in fact a magazine. It's not a clip, no matter what they say in music. Question, did they ever report missing gun to law enforcement? Never heard any word about that.
All right, go ahead and
Never heard anything about that.
Before we move on, We're not pulling all the
If
ammo
they
out.
did
Does this
report it,
magazine appear to
I'm
be
sure it'll come in.
relatively full.
It's pretty heavy, so it's pretty cool.
All right. Ask you to go ahead and just put that one back on, please.
Creighton, what do you want him to do? Do you want him to unbox things? Do you want him to open things? Do you want him to put things back? What are we doing? What are we doing? Closed captioning says iPhone. See, we're all hearing in closed captioning. The first missing gun was reported, but the first missing gun was years before this happened, and it was replaced by the second missing gun. And the replacement gun is what they think is the murder weapon. So, did they ever report the threats to Paul to the police? Alex said they did in his interview with police. Whether we will see that or not, I don't know. So whether we will see evidence of that, I don't know. I'm gaining this down while he is uncrinkling that bag, that paper bag, because it's painful. And I suspect the reason we have this slight delay on law and crime is so that the closed caption can get up.
What you got in there?
And bad though they may be.
This is another magazine that fits
Better than
the
mine.
AR-style rifle. It's loaded with 300 blackout.
Can you tell the particular brand of that 300 blackout?
So though this feels tedious, it's necessary.
It's
Courtroom unboxing
head-stamped
evidence hall.
S&B 300 blackout.
These are all
Let me
S&Bs.
go put that up on the screen for the jury.
This unpackaging of evidence is bizarre to me, Kate said. Not how it's done in other states. Usually it's laid out on the table in clear bags, in my state anyway. Where I've seen it in paper bags, I've seen it opened up this way by law enforcement. It has to be the jury can't just open it. It has to be opened
All right.
and pulled in.
Just real quick before you put it back, is that we're not taking all the bullets out
So-
or cartridges out? Does that appear to be fairly well loaded?
It's got some weight to it. It feels like it's fairly loaded.
All right. If you can return that to its bag, please.
My
Put
in-ears
it
are...
back in the back of the
Woo!
right.
Sir, we're wearing headphones. We're wearing headphones. And the paper bag crinkling is just. Are the jurors able to have drinks or snacks? It depends on the court. Not all courts allow them to have like water. But
We've been talking about guns for a while. Let's talk about something else for a minute, and then we'll get back to guns.
I thought, Lilac, I thought we had a pinned comment with it up there, or we should. So yes, we will make sure that's pinned. Deborah, the older son Buster was
back?
not there this night.
Yes, sir.
He was
All right.
living elsewhere.
Going back to June 8th,
He was not there.
2021, were you present when any efforts were made to collect the cell phone belonging to Maggie Murdaugh?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right. And who all were you present with when that when that happened? And just kind of describe the events as they took place, please.
It was myself, Special Agent McAllister, Captain Ryan Neal, Dylan Hightower. There was one or two more people there, but I don't recall.
Okay. And ultimately, was that phone located?
The phone was located a short distance from the crime scene.
All right. And where was it just generally?
That's
If
a
you
magazine.
would come out of 41, out of the driveway of the residence, take a right on Moselle Road, quarter mile, half mile. I don't recall the exact distance on the left-hand side of the road. Kind of in the grass
MC
area.
Linda, I don't think he
When y'all
will.
found it, what happened then?
I don't
Who
think he
picked it
will.
up? Who collected it? What happened to it at that point?
Captain Neal picked it up. Special Agent McAllister held it in her hand
This
while
is the chain of custody.
a picture was taken of it, gloved hand.
Chain of custody establishes
We were
how
given
something
the
got from the crime scene
passcode to the phone.
on and on.
Passcode was entered into the phone just to verify that it would work, it would unlock. And it did work, it did unlock. It was immediately shut, locked back. And then passcode was written on a sticky note. It was packaged and ultimately turned over to crime scene.
Okay, and you were there when all that happened, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Aside from the things y'all just described, was it otherwise manipulated or tampered with or changed in any way?
No, sir, it was not.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked for identification at this time as Exhibit 204, and have you just take a look at that and see if you recognize that item.
So this is going to be a phone.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, tell me what that item is.
This is the phone that was recovered on the side of the road belonging to Miss Maggie Murdaugh.
The one you just described?
Yes, sir, it is.
I've
The
got
one that was
questions.
secured by Captain Neal
Yes, sir, it is.
and then turned over to crime scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, put it back on if you will.
I got more. I got a lot of questions about Maggie's phone.
Just real quick.
There's a lot of questions about Maggie's phone.
All right, at this time, Your Honor, we would move Exhibit 204 into evidence, I believe without objection.
Hit it.
So that's now moved into evidence. Maggie Murdaugh's phone was found by the side of the road. I want to know what information that phone was engaging with, at what time. I want to know everything about this phone. How did this phone get on the side of the road? How did it get found on the side of the road? Was it on the side of the road in the direction that Alec Murdaugh went to go to his parents'
Let me ask you this
house?
question. Do you know
So
a guy
many
by the name
questions.
of John Bedingfield?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is that somebody you knew before this case?
Yes, sir, it is.
And how do you know him, just generally?
John grew up in Barnwell, just like myself. He actually has a son that's the same age as my son. They went to school together, played ball together. I've known John for a number of years.
Oh, you're going to know
What does
people.
John do for a living, do you know?
He is a DNR officer.
All right, and does he have a side business?
He does.
And just generally, what does that side business do?
He's got a gun business where he builds, works on firearms.
Okay. And prior to this case ever happening, did you ever have any conversation with John Bedingfield about whether or not he had assembled any guns for Alec Murdaugh?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And is that something that you knew prior to this case ever taking place?
Yes, sir, it is.
After this case took place, well, let me ask you this. Did you know what ammunition was used by those guns that were assembled by John Bedingfield for Alec Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
And what ammunition was used in those guns?
Hearsay.
Response.
Yes, not all for the truth of the matter asserted this time, but effect on the listener for his actions.
It's a good
Anything
response.
further?
It's still hearsay, and I'm not sure
That's a
what his
hearsay
actions are in
objection, Jim.
response to the hearsay. I mean, he's asking questions about what he learned well before these crimes.
Objections overruled.
He let him
So
make
what was the
record.
ammunition in the guns from what John Bedingfield told you?
The guns
They're not
were
happy
built
with
and
that
chambered
ruling.
for 300 blackout.
As this case developed, did that prior fact
And
that you
here's the
knew,
point.
did that cause you to take any actions?
Yes, sir, it did.
And tell me what actions you took based on that prior knowledge you had.
I contacted John Bedingfield and asked him if he could provide me with paperwork.
So the reason
for
it was
the
not
weapons
hearsay
that
is
was
because
purchased by Mr. Alec Murdaugh.
of
All right. And was that after
Because-
these particular crimes that took place?
That was after, yes, sir.
Remember
because
roughly when that was?
of the effect.
Within a day or so that I talked to him, yes, sir.
This
And did
officer
he
took
ultimately provide you some
action
paperwork?
based
Yes, sir,
on
he
something
did.
he knew.
Was that the only conversation you had with John Bedingfield about the 300 blackouts that he built for Alec Murdaugh?
Do we spell it like
No, sir, it
Bedingfield,
was not.
Arkansas?
Was there a
Or
subsequent
like Natasha
conversation?
Yes,
Bedingfield?
sir.
Did you call him back or did he call you back?
I called him back and then.
I'm sure
to
we'll hear from John
require
Bedingfield.
Of potential additional 300 blackout that was purchased by and paid for by Miss Maggie Murdaugh.
Okay, so you called him with an inquiry, is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell me what your inquiry was to John Bedingfield.
Creighton's goes fast when it's
I'm,
important.
I'm sorry, sir. I
Slow
couldn't
down
hear
when it's
you.
important.
Turned away.
That's okay.
Tell me what your specific inquiry was to John Bedingfield that second time when there was a subsequent conversation.
The second time that I talked to John was to inquire about whether or not he built a third 300 blackout to replace a gun that Paul had misplaced or had gotten stolen earlier in 2017.
All right, and we're in response to that inquiry, did John Bedingfield provide you some additional paperwork?
Yes, he did.
All right,
Paperwork
I'm gonna
goes
show
to the
you,
receipts.
What's been marked as standby for me real quick.
So what happened was the defense objected to hearsay with regard to what John Bettenfield told this officer. And he's saying, no, it explains his action. We're not offering it for the truth of what happened. We're not offering it to prove that John Bettenfield made these guns for Alec Murdaugh. We're doing it to explain that this officer reached out to that person and said, hey, did you build any guns for Alec Murdaugh? And go through what those were and when. And the reason that that was done is because of the prior knowledge that he had built these guns. It's my understanding that this round is not the most common configuration for this gun. I'm sure they'll get into that. It is a configuration for this gun. So the fact that this family had 3 of those guns, one went missing and a new one was replaced, and now there's only one left on the property is important information. Because it shows that the murder weapon has wandered off the property somewhere. And the defense will use that to their advantage.
All right, I'm going to
So
show
will the
you
prosecution.
what's been marked at this time for identification only, states 247. Stand by for me just real quick.
Wait, I thought we were just standing by. I thought we were in the clear. I was getting some water. Ended up with ice in my mouth. Lost,
All right,
naughty.
I'm going to ask you to look at what's been
Oh,
marked
lost in
identification
thought,
only
sorry.
this time as Exhibit 247 and see if you recognize that paperwork.
I'm sure some will watch. Some haven't. Things wrong in the world. Gucci charging almost $400 for a crochet beanie hat made with mismatched yarn. Crafters unable to get people to pay $20. Yep. There's a lot to be said about the power of the name. Last week you changed the cursors. Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
sir,
We
I
did
did.
that.
All right, and just again, without describing the contents, tell the jury what this paperwork is, please.
It's
Well,
a
Sam,
copy
I'm
of
glad you're here.
council checks and copy of the
Cancel
sale
checks
of firearm.
and the sale.
And this was documentation that was provided to you in response to your inquiries to John Bedingfield?
That is correct.
And who gave this documentation to you?
John Bedingfield.
All right, I'm going to,
Foundation.
again, without going into the contents, look at the second page and tell me, is that the document that was provided in response
Laying
to your
foundation.
second inquiry when you called him back about a third blackout?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, thank you.
So we're going through the canceled checks, receipts, and other information to show that this family owned 2 of these styles guns and one went missing. I imagine there's no report where they're saying before the murders it was missing. I imagine it wandered off the night of the homicides in one way or the other. My in-ears are making me crazy. I'm sorry that I keep messing with them. They're just making me crazy today. It's just what it is. All right. So let's keep going with some questions. Question, is Blackout a branded gun like a Beretta or Smith? No, Blackout is the type of ammunition. These are AR style weapons. The 300 Blackout is the signature type of ammunition.
The states exhibit 162 first.
And the gun was
That's the disc,
configured
and
for
see
that
if you
ammo.
recognize that particular exhibit, please.
So, did I hear the gun was paid
Yes, sir, I
for
did.
by
All
Miss
right, tell me
Murdaugh?
what
Yes.
that exhibit
Miss
is.
Maggie paid for the gun is what they said.
A video from my body worn camera of collection of shell casings.
All right, and does it have a date on when that occurred on it?
6/16/2021.
All right, so this is different from what we've already talked about, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and then I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 248 and see if you recognize that particular exhibit.
So they're going through receipts, literally the receipts.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and is that additional body cam footage from that search on 6/16/21?
That is correct.
All right, Your Honor, at this time, I would move both Exhibits 248 and 162 into evidence and leave without objection.
So those are
Right, yeah.
search on 6/16.
Admit it.
21. I can't do
All right,
headphones because they
so-
squish my glasses. And I
Got a
can't
search
do
on
in-ears because the battery's
6/16/21.
dying.
Can you tell the
Or
jury a
the
little bit about that
in-ear
search,
wireless.
how it came to pass, what was going on?
There's some
and then we'll
days they
get to
just
the
bug me
footage
more.
as to what occurred.
Okay. During the investigation process, we learned that there was a shooting range and some bodies of water on the property. And when I say on the property, it's across the road from the incident location. Through discussion with the investigative team, it was decided that we needed to go over to that shooting range and also search that body of water for any potential evidence that may be found.
And this shooting range, that was still part of the Murdaugh property at Moselle, is that correct?
That is correct. It
Everything was part of the
Would
property.
be kind of diagonal to your left.
It's a big
from
ass
where
property.
The kennels are at.
Right. And the information received was that the family used that as a shooting range.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let me show you.
Tina, to be fair, I don't think Alec is trying to look professional in court with a tie on. I think he's trying to be relatable to the jury. So his lack of tie doesn't really bother me. I think it's strategic.
Go ahead and just quickly
So-
show you these.
Nope. We're
Show you
still
what's
in
been
the
marked as exhibits.
laying down pieces of
184,
evidence.
185 and 186, and see if you recognize those.
Exactly, Dawn. Did they look in the trees? They flew a drone over. I mean, did they look
Yes,
in the
sir, I
trees? I
did.
don't think
All
so.
right, and tell me what those are generally, please.
There, one is the picture of the shoot house. The other
property's
is a
real
picture
big.
of the inside of the shoot house. And then the third picture is a picture of the area next to the waterway where we collected some items.
All right, Your Honor, this time I would move exhibits 184, 185.
Wait, what was in the water?
186, State's exhibits and evidence for leave without objection.
No objection.
All right, very quickly, let's put this up on the screen.
What was in the water?
184. Again, tell the jury what that is, please.
That is what I'm describing as a shoot house. It has a bench inside where you would set up to shoot targets out in front.
All right, 185. What does that represent, please?
That is on the inside of the shoot house, the chair, the stand where you would sit, and obviously the rail where you would rest your weapon.
All right, what are these little shiny things on the floor there?
That's brass from
Different types of weapons.
brass from firearms that's already been fired.
All right. And is that how the scene looked when you found it?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, and then finally, 186, what does that represent?
That is two 12-gauge spent shotgun shells that was collected over near the waterway behind where we had set our dive trailer up.
So the waterway, we saw some waterways. Jen said, question, was there probable cause affidavit for Murdaugh's arrest? No, there was not a probable cause affidavit. There was a grand jury indictment. So that is a secret and sealed process. So we do not know what the grand jury indicted him on,
All right.
but there was a grand
This
jury
time,
indictment in this
I'm gonna
case,
play exhibit
not a
162.
probable cause affidavit for arrest. Thank you for the question, though. That's helpful because I'm sure we haven't talked about that in at least a couple of days. We haven't talked about him being indicted. Everything they've done is indictment.
For the record, I'm going to fast forward it to about 43 seconds into the video.
So they're doing the same thing where they're going, I think, going by video evidence, and they're pausing. I like the way they did that before lunch. I think it's really effective to the jury to be like, this is what we see. Okay, this is the physical thing. This is what we see happening in the video. Here's the physical thing. I think that's really helpful. The shoot house is different than the hunting blinds from the way he described it. The hunting blinds are those little boxes up on stilts. This sounds more like a room set up for shooting.
You observed it.
Yes, sir, it is.
I'm now at 1 minute and 19 seconds, and I have it paused. But tell me, what is this thing right here that's kind of up on the counter of that shooting house?
That would be a rest that you would put your rifle in when you're sighting it in or shooting downrange at targets to help stabilize it.
All right, when you're sighting it in, just real quick, explain with the jury what you're trying to do when you sight in a rifle that you would use that rest for.
When you're zeroing your rifle, whether it be 100 yards, 200 yards, you want to hold a rifle as still as possible, obviously. You would have a target downrange at whatever distance you're sighting it in at. You would fire 1, 2, 3 rounds.
All I can think of
and
is the
then
little
you would
shooting
adjust
thing at
your-
Disneyland
your,
where you can rest the
optics.
rifles on the thing and
and continue till you get it zeroed to
over in
where, where you
Frontierland.
want it.
That's literally all I can
Zero
think of.
means the shooting where you're aiming.
In my head.
Yes, sir.
All I can think of. Emma, will we get to see his other trials? I don't know if they're
Ultimately, and I'm gonna
televised.
fast forward through a fair amount of this, but ultimately, after seeing those cases on the floor, did you see any 300 blackout that you recognized just looking down were 300 blackout?
Yes, sir, I did.
Right. And did you send Special Agent David Owen to go get some envelopes so you could collect those?
Yes, sir, I did.
That's all
And
leading.
ultimately, did you collect about 17
But it's
S&B
foundational.
cases at that location?
That's why the
Yes,
defense
sir, I
isn't
did.
objecting. It's leading. What if y'all are like, wait, why isn't that leading? It is, but it's foundational, and I suspect that that's why the defense isn't objecting, because it is leading, but it is foundational. So it's one of those things where like back and forth and back and forth. Alarm crime put their logo back on the screen. I don't know when it comes down and when it goes back up, but all right. So they're going through that video. We're going to get to some more questions. Linda, what's the difference between an affidavit, a probable cause affidavit, and a
For the
grand jury
record,
indictment? Oh,
I'm
that's,
at
we're going to have to
11
get to
minutes
that
and
later.
3
That's
seconds in
longer.
the video.
Foundational means it's establishing a underlying foundation or background.
What is it? 300?
It's not
300
really
blackout?
implying the proper answer.
It's
There's over 200 people on the witness list for the
S&B.
prosecution. I don't know how many of those are law enforcement versus civilians. I didn't break it down.
AACBLK.
What are you reading out right there?
I'm reading the numbers to identify, the identifiers off the head stamp of the shell casing.
We got you, sir. We understand.
Moving now to
My guy. Some warning.
1207.
That was awful. I apologize to all. RIP to everyone's ears.
300.
There it is.
AACBLK.
So they're just reading
Same
it.
ammunition?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to move now.
Uh-oh. I am halfway through my notebook,
Here, right leg.
and we are 1 week into trial. Not even.
Hang on. I'm sorry. S&B.
They're just going through the different ammo.
AACBLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
So again, they are going through the spent casings near the family shooting range to grab the casings that match.
S&K, 300 blackout. S&K, I'm sorry. S&G. Yeah, same head strap. S&P is what you were saying. Well, was it any different? Hang on. I'm sorry, it is S&P. AACBLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
These are the casings that are going to come
1619.
very, very much into play.
300 blackout. AACBLK.
Tying the
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
tying the
1721.
In front to the
tying the murder weapon to being a family weapon.
Check that. 1717.
BLK, 300 blackout.
A little too far. Let's back up to 1712.
S&B, 300.
They're going each by each.
BLK, 300 blackout.
It's riveting.
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving now to 1800, about 18 minutes even.
300 blackout. will be the AAC. Okay.
Mike, we saw an evidentiary hearing from the tool marking expert
indeed.
that matched those
300 blackout
ejected casings
will be the
to the murder weapon.
AAC.
They don't have the murder weapon, but they matched all the casings together.
Yes, sir, it is.
Between the table leg.
They matched the casings near the house and near the house and at the shooting range.
It's gonna be S&B. 300 blackouts will be 300 AAC.
Sandy, they talked about this
Yes,
in
sir.
opening, and we've already seen that evidentiary hearing where they connected those casings, the casings near Maggie to the casings at the gun range to the casings
Moving now to
by the side door of the
22-21.
gun room, all the same.
Same here.
She's 2216.
Is Rob okay with the tool markings? Probably not.
300
Probably not.
AAC. Okay.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
2309.
Will be S&B. 300 blackout. Get that AAC. Okay.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
The jury has not heard this evidence yet.
Right.
We saw it at an
Now we're
evidentiary hearing,
2356.
but the jury has not heard that these are the same. They heard it in the opening. But is a casing equals same gun? Casings are unique, and so you'll hear about the tool marking, how
S&B.
each round that goes through a gun gets particular tool marking, and those can be matched, so it makes them unique. So it ties them back together. But the jury gets to decide how much weight to put on
Yes,
that.
sir, it is.
I don't know if they were fingerprinted.
2452.
S&B. 300 blackout.
Rob and Runkle don't like tool markings. Well, I'll have to ask them why.
Same thing?
Yes, sir.
Shotguns are a bit different because of the way the shells go out of the gun. So no, not the same for shotguns. Rifles have different shooting mechanisms. So not the same.
Do I have to go get some more envelopes at this point?
I think that's what we just went to do.
I'm gonna move it forward.
And again, they are just trying to get
All right,
into
we're at now at 2802.
where all the evidence came from. So get a snack. It's just the jury's sitting here after lunch for the boring bit going, okay.
300
But they get to at least see them digging through the
AAC.
evidence.
Same thing?
Same thing, sir.
Same objection, same grounds. Same objection, same grounds.
We're now at 2908.
That's right. This is S&B. 300 blackout. AAC. Okay.
Same thing?
Same thing, sir.
Now we're at 3027.
Stoofy, we have a timeline
S&B.
from the opening statement, but we have not had the medical examiner yet.
300
So we have a
blackout.
timeline,
AAC.
but we don't have,
It's the same thing, sir.
we have a timeline, but we do not have a coroner's time of death yet. So we have when their phones went silent. Let me pull that
Now
info
we're
up
at
real quick.
3132.
I have notes. I'm going to keep turning it down when they're doing that.
S&B. 300 blackout.
I'm going to turn it down when they're doing the dumping.
AAC. Be okay.
Loud.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
S&B. All right. Here.
Now we're at 3216.
So both victims' phones are silent before 9 p.m. At like 8.
S&B.
I would need to go back through all my notes. But at like 8:44 and 8:49 is when the phones aren't accessed again.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Almost done.
Question, did you walk around in court when questioning witnesses? Not quite this much. Our courtrooms were laid out differently. We normally had a podium,
3332.
and I needed to write notes. So I was generally close to the podium. I walked around a bit when making argument. But I would approach if I needed people to write on things and stuff like that. What happens if they magically find the murder weapon now? The prosecution would probably ask for a recess to test it. It's unlikely, but anything's possible.
In front of the shooting chair.
We're now at 3428.
The witness stool looks awful. It looks so uncomfortable. The audio on this is just overgained.
300 blackout. 88. G, 88.
Same thing.
Yes, sir, it is.
And it's quite hard to know.
You participated in multiple searches at various locations on the Murdaugh property at Moselle.
I'm trying
Road. Is that
to.
correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you repeatedly find S&B 300 blackout ammunition, both fired and unfired, at various locations throughout that property?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And
All right, we'll do one more very quick one, and this will be.
I'm turning you down, Creighton. It's going to be
Exhibit
loud.
248. And I'm going to fast forward.
Was it mentioned that Alex Murdaugh called?
To about 102,
Rogan
and I've
back.
got it paused.
How
How
would
tell us generally where we are and what we're seeing here again, please, if you would.
This location is going to be between where the shoot house was located and the
get to
body
that
of
in a
water that was there. It's where we had our dive trailer set up and table set up with a shade so that we could actually get out of the weather if we needed to.
And are you collecting any items here?
Yes, sir, I am.
And what are you collecting?
Spent 12 gauge shotgun shells.
So now they're collecting
We'll
shotgun
watch that play
shells.
For a second. And for the record, we're at 24 seconds in.
And they're going to go with these are the same type of evidence. Yeah, I thought tool markings were going the way of bite marks and handwriting. Tool markings are still considered good evidence. The jury gets to decide the weight, but it is considered good science that can be presented in court. So that's why they did the evidentiary hearing on it. Question, if you get time, can you go over Alex's phone timeline of calls? It went by fast. It did. I tweeted out Mandy Matney's breakdown of that. I won't be able to do it until probably the Quick Bits episode this week because I'm going to need to watch it again. So I'll need to watch it.
1 minute and 14 seconds. I'm going to show you again what's been marked. States Exhibit 21.
The world's worst
And are
ASMR.
there in fact shotgun shells present in there?
There is.
All right. And where were those collected from, those red shotgun shells?
It's depicted on the video on the Murdaugh property right near the waterway
All right.
at the shooting range.
So Alec was calling Rogan, but I think it was after he got home. And Alec said that in his police interview as well. I don't know if Rogan called Alec as well. That wasn't clear from Creighton's sprint through that evidence earlier today. But we know Rogan was texting Paul. Paul was texting Rogan. Rogan was texting Paul. Then Rogan was texting Maggie. Then the missed calls from Alex Murdaugh were at 10:25 and 10:30, which is what Alex Murdaugh
The
said.
primary focus that you had here because of your general
In his
knowledge
police
of
interview.
firearms was to gather that type of evidence. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
But you also participated in interviews in this case as well, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
You talked about interviewing Rogan Gibson. You talked
Sound
about
good?
interviewing John Bedingfield, right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Did you interview the defendant or participate in an interview with the defendant?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh,
You remember what day that was that you participated in an interview with the defendant?
I don't remember the actual date.
Let me show you Exhibit 243 and see if you recognize this exhibit.
Okay.
So we might be getting another defendant
Yes,
interview.
sir, I do.
All right, and what is that disc?
This is a recorded interview which was conducted with Alex Murdaugh on 6/10 of 2021.
Are your initials on this disc?
They are.
It's a good way to refresh recollection. Very smooth, Creighton.
Your Honor,
I
at this
don't-
time, we would offer the evidence, State's Exhibits 243, I believe, without objection.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's play the video.
Let's play the video. All right, y'all. Let's hear the defendant's second interview. So we've heard the 911 call, the interview the night, early morning that the murders happened on scene in the truck. And we are getting another, this is now the second interview from 6/10, 2021. Dick, what do you need? Stop wandering. It's a lot of men in gray suits standing around. Dick, what is the issue? We want the interview. Bring the interview. Why are you futzing around with the guns?
Stand right quick while there.
The court's taking a stand break. Y'all take a stand break. I can't. I'll mess up my in-ears, and I just got my chair perfect. Everybody's got a gray suit on in this court. We can all stretch. You know what you should do when you take a stretch break? You should probably go ahead, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. And we're going to see. Pickle Lee in the chat said, can't wait to see how accusatory this interview is. Yep, we're going to hear. That's what the defense kept saying. And we'll see. Sandy, why can't we see the exhibits live? It is this court's decision. And the exhibits generally get made available after court, so we will see it at some point. Dick is stalling. Were the guns blocking the TV? I don't think they were, because the screen's down lower over here below where like the Law and Crime Network is. When do you get a bathroom break? When I break for the day? Is normally when I do that, like at lunch. But I'm used to being in court for days like this without going to the restroom. The attorneys, the entire
Just
morning.
do a quick bit of housekeeping. You talked earlier about your inquiries to John.
The attorneys
Bedingfield
never went to the
about
bathroom.
300 blackouts, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
And I want to show you what's been marked for ID only 245 at this time and see if you recognize that document.
Wait, I thought we were getting the interview. What? Where's our interview?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And without going into the contents of that document, where did you get that particular document?
I received this document from John Benfield.
As part of the inquiries that you earlier described to the jury?
That is correct.
Did we forget to admit something, Creighton? They're not covering the contents of the document. That'll come with that witness.
The interview of the defendant on June 10th, 2021, where did that take place?
It was in Senior Special Agent David Owens's patrol vehicle.
In another
the
vehicle?
Yard of Mr. John Marvin Murdaugh's
At his brother's house?
hunting lodge.
Oh, the brother also has a hunting lodge. Another in-car
All right, this
interview.
time we're going to play Exhibit 243, the second interview of Alec Murdaugh.
So in the car at John Marvin's hunting lodge. All right. Let's hear what he has to say. Everybody's got a hunting lodge. I don't hunt. Do I need a hunting lodge? I wouldn't mind a space where there's people.
Can I take this call really
Yes, sir,
quick?
go
This
right
is
ahead.
my sister-in-law,
Yes, go ahead.
and she's trying to.
They began the interview with, "Can I take this call real quick?" And everybody said, "Go ahead."
Okay, man, when I meet with law enforcement, so I'll call you in just a minute.
I don't have a card.
He thinks this will be
Did,
swift.
Did Chelsea call you? Okay. Okay. Can you let Chelsea know and then make her run Lynn down? Okay, well, tell her to go get Christy to find Lynn. Get any one of the secretaries to find her. All right. Thank you. Sorry to put that on you. Bye.
That's all right. One thing I want to do before we start is I'd like to get a cell phone exam so we can just corroborate everything. Get a consent, and I got a guy here that's going to do it.
Are you gonna download it now?
Oh, they're
Yes,
going to
sir.
download his cell right now.
So I'll get to keep my phone?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Who was the guy that was there to download Alex's phone? Do you remember?
Dylan Hightower with 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
He works with the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
That is correct.
At that point in time, that was the
Prosecutor.
prosecutor's office in charge of the case.
That is correct.
It was not until August that the case got sent to the
How
Attorney
would
General's
he know
office.
that?
That is correct.
How much attorney-client privilege stuff is on there?
A lot.
Okay. We do have a taint attorney that's going to examine it before we ever do.
Oh.
What is a tank attorney?
A taint attorney, they
Taint.
look at somebody who's not affiliated with the case that makes sure that there's, Jim, do you know? Can you explain it better?
Sure, and
Taint.
I mean, it's a privileged attorney that doesn't, if there is attorney-client privilege information, it's redacted
Redacted
or extracted by the retained attorney.
How do they know who's the client?
I know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what?
But-
If y'all get some
But
attorney client
but whoever
stuff,
that is, would go through me and then.
so
we'd work through it.
signature,
Just write your name here.
June 10th. This interview's on June 10th.
So Alec, I've had situations where
We'll talk about
It's
the
not a
taint
big
attorney
deal.
in a minute.
give me a list of all his clients or
Yes,
something like
taint.
that,
Yes, taint.
Fill out the rest.
I think the big thing, Joe, is, I mean, when you download that phone, I don't know if emails come with it or not, because that's probably where all this attorney-client privilege stuff.
And we can actually isolate the emails.
Yeah, that's probably. You don't text
My
clients, but.
no, I do. I text a lot of clients.
Okay.
Don't you have a work phone, my
I'm
guy?
not a big emailer.
Is that at 11 or 12, or do you know?
I do not know.
I can tell you that case story if you want me to.
I'm not a big emailer. I mean, why are you texting your clients? We'll talk about the taint attorney in a little bit.
And what was your date of birth again, Mr. Murdaugh?
2768.
So he's just texting clients from his personal phone.
And the last one, so they don't get old.
7
You got the light?
7483. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Doesn't say anything on it.
Most of the new ones don't.
Probably have to open it up.
Oh, well, it's got,
Jim, you want to witness that for me, please?
So they're going through the process of
and if you got a passcode or.
they're going through the
My
process of
passcode is
Cellbrite downloading his phone. I mean, I guess it could be
start at the
others.
bottom 9, go up 9669.
Several days
Yes, sir.
after the murders. They were the overnight of the 7th, 8th. So this is 2
All right,
days
let me run
later.
this till I'll be right back.
So he is consenting to them downloading his phone.
Where are you from,
Forensic
sir?
download.
I'm actually from Barnwell.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, sir.
I got some cousins in Barnwell.
Got people in Barnum too. Mixon.
Mixing oil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my.
You kin to Dickie Mixon?
I don't know. That
Seems to have an attorney with him all the
Mixon
time.
was my Uncle Ray Mixon and his son Teddy and Bobby and a bunch of them. Then
You know,
Freddie Mixon. He was
I knew Freddie Mixon very well.
and his wife Ella and Jill.
Freddie goes to Elko Church.
Yeah. Not anymore. He did.
I mean, he
Well,
went.
he did.
Yeah.
Well, I was at his funeral. He had a Tiger Paw casket at the funeral. The big Clemson guy.
you know Big John Bedingfield, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I know John.
That's my cousin.
Okay.
Wait, John Bettenfield's his cousin?
All right there.
John Beddenfield, the DNR officer, who is also the one that built the
Big John.
AR style rifles, 300 blackout for him.
And Sweet Caroline.
John's
Wait,
son and my son are
you
the
call
same
someone
age.
Sweet
They were in school
Caroline?
together.
So did you grow up in Bond?
Yes, sir.
They've talked about where you've grown up, who your family is in Clemson.
So he's got it. He's taking care of that.
But I get it back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All of that.
All right, sir. So when we spoke the other night,
Oh yeah, Dick is like a
I
kid
got
when they
kind of a
put the
basic,
substitute teacher puts
overview.
on a video.
Yes, sir.
and it
I have
was pretty traumatic.
Inspired by the chat.
That's okay.
yeah,
I know
so,
you
yeah.
need to ask me. You ask me what you need to.
So I want you to
Pineapple
let's
LaCroix.
start Monday morning and take me through your day.
Monday morning.
The officer was
you
apologizing
know,
for having to ask hard
what did I
questions.
do Monday morning? My wife and my older son had gone to the baseball games that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He said he went to the baseball games in opening. The defense said in opening he
I
went
really
to.
can't remember what I did Monday. I know I went to work, but
Okay.
you know, I think I was dragging a little bit from the weekend, and but I went to work. I usually mess around on my farm, and then I go to work. I was at work. You know.
Were you at the office in Hampton, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I was at my office in Hampton. You know, I mean, I was just at my office doing.
Legal work.
Yes, sir. I'm sure I can go back and probably recreate some specifics if you need me to, but I can't like sit here and recall on
Rob.
the top of my head exactly what I was working on. I know one thing I was working on was we had some big motions coming up in a Dominion Energy case. I was getting ready for those. And I was getting ready for some motions. I'm a defendant in a civil case involving my son. I told you about the boat wreck.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, before
And
the rest
there
of
were
them.
some motions coming up in that
Big
on
motions coming up in
Thursday.
that.
And I was mostly just getting ready for those things. And
Big motions coming up in the boat case.
Question as to what he was doing the day of the murders.
That is correct, yes, sir.
And he said he was working on some motions in the Dominion Energy case, and then also where he's personally a defendant in the boat case. Is that correct?
That is correct,
That's
yes,
what
sir.
he said he was doing the day of the murders. Is that right?
I
That
like
is
how he's
correct,
breaking
yes.
this down.
other junk.
What time did you leave the house to go to the office?
I'm not sure.
Who all was at the house when you left?
They didn't
To
ask
go to
which
my
house he
office that
left
morning?
from.
Or
Did he
when you
leave?
got up, who was at the
Did he
house?
leave from Moselle or did he leave from their
I'm sure my
house?
wife was. And I can't remember if Blanca had made it out there yet or not.
And who was Blanca?
Blanca is our housekeeper.
Okay. Okay.
And she comes
Mhm.
different. She doesn't have set hours, but she comes most days.
Blanca's on the witness list.
She'll be able to tell you if I was there when she left or not.
Okay.
I can't remember.
And so you went to the office, you did, some motions. What time did you leave the office?
2 days.
Name of the housekeeper?
Syracuse.
Blanca,
And when she left or not. I can't remember.
This is
And so
Blanca, the
you went to the
new
office, you did,
housekeeper.
Some motions. What time did you leave the office?
I
Gloria
left a little bit
Satterfield
earlier
passed
than normal because
before
my
this
son
happened.
Paul was coming home.
Okay.
Because he had not been with us during the weekend, and he was coming home. We were going to replant some sunflowers the next day,
Okay.
and so he was calibrating, doing, and getting everything ready. So he got home a little early. I left a little early, so he and I could knock around, and we knocked around for, just doing things we like to do out there.
I believe
riding
Gloria
around, looking
Satterfield
at,
passed in 2019.
um,
He got fired in September of
through the plots,
2021.
looking,
This
looking
happened
for
in
hogs,
June.
a little bit of target shooting, just bullshit.
You said Paul wasn't with you over the weekend.
think that's the
does
same
he-
Blanca,
does he
though. There's
live with
two
you at the
Blanca.
house on Moselle?
Well, I mean, that's his home, but
Yeah.
he has an apartment in Columbia.
Okay.
And he goes to Charleston a lot of weekends with his buddies.
Okay.
And he had been in Charleston
Well, Charleston's
for
pretty
the
great.
weekend.
Okay.
And then Paul works for my brother John. That's out here. You met John.
Yes, sir.
So Paul works for him. So Paul decided he went to spend the night with my brother, his Uncle John. They were very, very close.
Okay.
These were the cars switching around.
Sunday night.
Okay.
And then he worked for John Marvin, and he came home Monday afternoon.
Okay.
Back to Moselle.
Just real quick, Alec Murdaugh told you that he left work a little earlier than normal. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's what he said.
And one of the things he told you is they were riding around looking for hogs. Is that right?
Looking for hogs, yes, sir.
Do people often use 300 blackout to shoot hogs?
They do.
About roughly what time in the afternoon?
You know, I would think it'd be somewhere in the 5 o'clock range, a little bit. It was broad daylight when we were, it wasn't dusk, dark, or late.
Okay.
You know, and we rode, you know, we just rode around. We rode around our dove field.
Earlier, he said they were looking at trees.
He and I had planted corn in the dove field, and he planted the corn in the duck pond, and he was, you know, showing me how much better his corn was doing than mine was. And we rode around the duck pond.
Dawn, I'll get
we
to this
just,
in a break.
you know, we rode the property.
Yes, sir.
You know, we rode the property. Then, you know, I mean, we rode around so much. We just rode. Probably.
Nina, to be fair, if someone asked me what time I did anything, I wouldn't be able to tell anyone.
And, you know, was
I
it
don't
2
know.
hours? I don't know. I'd say it was more than an hour, probably.
Really wasn't keeping track of time.
And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't getting dark. Mama wasn't home yet. She had gone to a doctor's appointment.
Mama wasn't home yet.
So, you know.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. They're asking you
Just out of
questions. You
curiosity,
know?
target
No, I
practice,
don't.
look,
Tell me.
Just a little bottle. You give me what gun?
Yeah.
A 22
Okay.
Magnum.
Rat shot.
I think. No, it wasn't rat shot. I think he shot 2 times and I shot 1 time.
Okay.
He told you that they shot just a couple of times, the target shooting at a bottle 22 Magnum. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is 22 Magnum, is that a very small round or is that a much larger rifle round like 300 blackout?
That is a small round.
22 is about as small as it comes.
They make them smaller, but that it is.
He's like, well, sir, actually.
So after y'all got finished riding around, you try to take me through the rest of the evening.
This is more of a timeline. I'm really glad we're getting to this.
You know, at some point we were all back at the house together.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie had gotten home, and
Maybe.
you
This
know, we
might be
sat
where
down,
he's
we
saying the
ate
GSR is from.
supper, which we usually eat supper together.
That's why time is important.
The one thing I remember, I don't know how much detail y'all want. So if I start talking about something that you don't need, just tell me and I'll move to something else.
The more detailed, the better. Sir.
So Paul has been having high blood pressure, and his mama was worried sick about it. So we were actually,
Paul's
you know,
22.
this was a direct thing, getting him, he doesn't like to go to doctors, making him go get his blood pressure checked. His feet had swollen up recently.
Wow.
So, you know, it was a big, huge deal.
Okay.
You know, we hung around the house for a little while. I know that Maggie went to the kennels. I don't know exactly where Paul went, but he left the house too.
Okay.
Notice he
How
never
did
says he
Maggie
went to
get
the
down
kennels.
I don't know exactly.
How'd they
But
get up there?
On
I don't
normal
know.
occasions, she would drive a buggy, drive a 4-wheeler, or very common for her to walk.
Okay.
Maybe the
How
UTV.
about Paul?
Paul wasn't much of a walker, but he would use all of the others.
Okay.
But it could be anyway,
Okay.
you know? I don't know exactly. I wish I could help you with that.
So they left and went down to the kennels.
Well, Maggie went to go to the kennels.
Okay. Paul left.
And I'm assuming Paul left
Okay.
because of, you know.
Gotcha.
No,
happened?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming Paul
Yeah.
went to the kennels.
Okay.
He says you know a lot.
And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house.
What did he tell you he did after Maggie and Paul went to the kennels?
He stayed in the house.
This directly contradicts with that Snapchat video we haven't gotten yet.
I mean, I'm assuming Paul
That's why he
went to the
paused.
kennels.
Okay. And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house
Okay.
and I was watching TV, looking at my phone, and I actually fell asleep on the couch.
Okay. And what time did you,
You know, I
what
don't
time did you
know
wake up?
exactly what time I woke up, but when y'all get my phone, you know, I think one of the first things I did when I got up was call Maggie
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to my mom's.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I texted her because I checked my phone. And what time did we say the text was, Jim? Like 9:06.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I got it written down for you.
I showed you the other
Yes,
night.
yes,
didn't
I showed
yes,
you.
got
Why
it.
don't you remember?
You know, I texted her, so I called her just before that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she didn't answer at that point. And I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
Y'all will just have to look. I'm not sure if I called Paul or
Well,
not.
and that's why we're
Y'all,
getting phones
look
so
at
we
my
can
phone.
nail down the times and
Right.
and everything.
Y'all just look at my phone.
I left, drove. Well, you know, I'm gonna tell y'all this, even though I think it's kind of crazy. You know,
If this is a story about the Black Panthers again,
I was
I'm
certain
out.
that I heard them pull up. I mean, I was positive that I heard, and people don't just come out there. You know, we don't get like passed through. I was certain that I heard them pull up, but
Who?
they didn't.
Okay.
Defendant told you that he thought he heard somebody pull up, but they didn't?
Yes, sir.
And that was before, according to him, he left the house. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, if you heard something pull up, what did it sound like?
You know, I can't tell you what it sounded like. I just know that I thought that my
Oh,
wife had pulled up,
I
or
mean,
that
would it-
Paul had pulled up.
Would it have been the buggy that she normally drives, or would it be a car?
if you're texting her to look for her, why wouldn't you
I
just
had the
wait?
impression that a car pulled up,
Okay.
you know? And,
And had you woken up by that time, but hadn't left for your mom's?
yep.
Okay.
But it wasn't much time in between there because I left pretty damn close. It wasn't much time between me waking up and me leaving the house.
If
Okay.
nobody comes up there and you think they pull up and don't see them, wouldn't you look?
And when I went outside, you know,
That's odd.
there's a wildcat that lives around that house.
Is
I'm
it a
pretty
danger
sure
floof?
it was the cat that ran from my car, but you know, I never had the impression it was a person, but there was something,
Okay.
you know.
At this point, the defendant tells you something
cat
about a wildcat running. You
ran?
wasn't sure if it was a person.
Yes, sir. That's what he says.
But I really don't think, you know, I'm just throwing that
Yeah,
out
no,
there
I got
because it was in my mind.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
He
All
says
right.
you know a
Totally
lot.
I left. I drove to my mom's. I checked on
And
my
she lives right
mom.
out here, correct?
She lives at Alameda.
Okay.
Checked on my mom. Talked with Shelly for a few minutes.
The
You
caregiver.
know,
Shelley is
the caregiver.
okay.
And
It was actually Attorney
You know,
Needlehoff's cat, the
I
one that
know
can
that I
Google
called some
search.
people on the way there. I know I returned a call from my brother John. I know that I called Chris Wilson. I know that I talked to Buster.
A big difference between a cat and a human.
So I made a few phone calls.
Okay.
And
And if you hunt,
Where was Buster?
the difference
Buster was
between a
in
cat,
Rockville.
a
Okay.
deer,
Is that where he
you
lives?
should be able to
No, he lives in Columbia,
approximate
but
size.
he just started a new job. He's going back to law school in January.
Okay.
So he's
No,
working
he's
a little
not.
part-time job with Wild Wings
Okay.
through January.
So Buster's working at
You
Wild
know,
Wings
just kind of killing time.
until he
And
gets back to
he
law
was
school.
in, his girlfriend lives in Rock Hill. She's studying for the bar exam. So he had to be in Charlotte. So he was staying with her in Rock Hill, her and her mom.
Okay.
Can I open the
Yes,
store?
sir.
No mention of them eating dinner so far. This interview has more red flags for me than the other one.
So
All right. So where are we? All right.
you,
So then I
you
left
left your
my
mom's
mom's.
and making phone calls.
I left my mom's and I went back home. I got to the house. I went inside. Nobody was there. I got in the car. I went back to the kennels and, you know,
That's a
When
you
went
know
back
I
to the
will
kennels,
forgive.
Besides Maggie and Paul, Did
That's a
see
that makes
anybody,
sense
any
to me.
cars?
I didn't see
Take
anything
your
right
time.
then, no, sir.
Take your time.
That makes
You
sense.
know, I saw
It's
Maggie
just-
and I saw Paul
They
laying
know what
down.
it
I
is.
knew, I didn't know.
That's the one that it's
You
the
know.
only one that makes sense to me. Is
I knew
that
it was bad. I went over there and, I saw it.
Yeah.
And, I called 911.
Okay. And what made you decide to go back to the house and get a gun?
Yeah, I just think the whole scene had me freaked out.
Okay. Did you take your car back up there, or did you run up there?
No, I drove.
Okay.
How did Alec Murdaugh say he went back to the house after finding Maggie and Paul to go?
He said he
To
drove.
supposedly go get a gun.
He drove.
And of course, the shotgun that we have is the one you brought back.
They were asking me earlier. I'm not sure which one it was.
Jim, it was a 12 gauge. And yeah, Ronnie had a question.
Damn it, Jim! It was a 12 gauge.
And it was that camo, don't it?
Yes, sir. I think it was the 12 camo Benelli.
I think so. But that's about all you got, Benelli out there, right?
And we talked about this a little bit the other night too.
What is Dick saying to Jim? Jim, why are you
I know
talking in this
Paul had
interview?
been getting some threats and getting some
Boat case.
being assaulted from, the boat. Who stands out in your mind besides the boat incident? Who stands out in your mind that would want to come after Paul and or Maggie?
I mean, sir, I can't think of anybody who would want to go to that extreme. I mean, he got a bunch of threats, mostly from,
No, we don't know. That's why they're asking.
and I
Answer.
have no idea.
How would he receive most of those threats?
What do you mean?
I mean, would people call and hang up on him, or send them text,
it
or
wasn't so
social
much
media?
that. No, it was mostly like in-person confrontations, are the ones that I learned about. Now, I suspect his friends can probably tell you about more, because I doubt Paul told me about all of them.
Okay.
But I knew about a lot of them. There were a lot of times where people would come up to him and he'd be like, they'd say something about, you gonna tell me who was driving that boat, or you little piece of shit, were you driving that boat? Stuff like that.
Okay.
I heard him say back to the kennels, but it's back to the kennels.
Who did he go to Charleston with?
In
the boat that
context, I thought he
in?
was saying back after he went to the house and got a shotgun, because he did go back up to the kennels after
I
that.
don't know exactly. I know that, I know who his buddies are, but specifically who was on the boat with him, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I can give
How
you
do you not
list
know
of
you're being
names of
sued
who
over
it
it?
probably was.
So, Joe, I don't know if you want me to weigh in here. You may want to put your pins down, but a good buddy of mine's son went fishing with me yesterday out in the ocean, and
Out in the ocean.
he has a best friend, and his dad's name is Lee Chapman. But
My son's buddy has a
Lee's son said that Paul slept on his couch in Charleston 2 nights before he was murdered. So it's Lee Chapman's son. I can give his name. You probably know Lee's son. I don't, but he goes to the Citadel. But that's where Paul was.
Okay.
And I learned that yesterday.
My friend went fishing with
Cool.
his
I mean,
friend
yes,
and
sir.
his
If you
son
could
out
get
in the
me Lee
ocean.
Chapman's
And
son's contact information.
There was a bunch of Chapman cousins that Paul was very close with. The closest one being Wills Chapman and Frank Chapman.
Wills Chapman's his name, but I'll get your number for
And
him.
that-
Frank is John Chapman's son, and Wills is Lee Chapman's son.
Okay.
That's where he was.
And those boys are, they're just really good boys and friends of Paul's.
And one of them is Wills with an S, right?
That's right.
everybody's cousins.
And Wills goes to the Citadel. That you understand?
No, he's graduated from the
Oh,
Citadel.
graduated from.
And Frank was in the Citadel, but I think he had some kind of,
Okay.
academic troubles. But I'm telling you now, I can promise you that, those boys love Paul.
Well,
It's absolutely
Well, you know, and I
None
just
of
want to
them.
talk to them about their weekend and
Sure.
yeah.
I can tell you this, in riding around with Paul, he was his normal bright, you know,
He was unbothered.
just, he was a really great kid.
So being a dad myself, what was the biggest issue you had with Paul when you had to call him down and scold him or correct him? What was the biggest issue you had with Paul?
You know, irresponsibility. You know, he was ADHD. He was bad about jumping from, and he had so many wonderful qualities now, but he was bad about jumping from, he'd start this, maybe not quite finish it, do something else.
It's more fun to start
And,
things.
you know, you'll find out from his friends, he had clothes strung out all over the state. He did that with clothes. He did that with guns. He did that with my boats.
Boats.
So,
You lost what?
He would misplace stuff.
He misplaced boats.
yes, everywhere. I mean, he would go off for the weekend. Sometimes he wouldn't pack clothes because he's got clothes in somebody's house. I mean, Paul was one, he wouldn't understand how you go out, you know, you and a girl go out on a date. He liked the crowd.
Who was his girlfriend?
He didn't have a girlfriend right now.
Okay.
Alex, last time I talked to him was like 2 weeks ago, although we texted.
Oh, when I was in
Going
college,
to
I lost
Greenville
clothes
for a weekend,
everywhere.
not-
Oh,
You
everywhere.
had friends up there? Girlfriend up there?
No, we had a family thing in Greenville, and he
I
came
never
up
misplaced boats.
Paul didn't play golf. He came up on Friday and stayed Saturday, and then he left to go to Charleston, and we were
This is
stayed
2
another
days after
day
the
to play
murders?
golf.
2 days.
My niece
June
on
10th.
my wife's side is having a baby, and we went out for that.
And you said on Monday Maggie had a doctor's appointment in Charleston. And I know we talked about this on Monday. Do you recall the doctor that she went to or for what the reason was?
Maggie had a couple little things going on, and
The interviewing
I
officer
I
is the same
personally think
officer
she
that was in
going
the
to see
front
Dr.
seat
Bourdin, but
of
I'm
the
not
car
positive.
interview we've watched on Monday.
I'm pretty sure that's who it was. I can find out
Yeah.
specifically though. Her mom will know.
Okay. And you said she and Buster were at the ball games all weekend
Yes,
Well,
Kathy,
that-
this is a
with
good
me.
point.
with you? And what ball games?
Carolina
Carolina.
Regional.
They
There
didn't
have
make
been
it past those,
threats.
did they?
No,
There have
Okay.
been confrontations, and he hears someone pull up, doesn't check,
Paul-
even though
well,
nobody
Paul
goes
was
out
in
there.
Charleston, so he didn't hang out with y'all that weekend.
no, sir.
And what time did
The
Maggie
second
get
I
back
try to
home
eat, they
Monday
start
night?
stop
It was-
talking.
It was after Paul and I had gone. She was not there when Paul and I left to go mess around.
Okay.
So, you know, it was sometime after that. So there was a point when, you know, she got back, we got back.
When y'all got back from riding around and messing around on the farm, was she home or?
Yes.
Okay.
The defendant told you that Maggie was home when they got back from riding around the property. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So, and I don't believe she'd been home too long when,
The prosecution's doing a good job of highlighting the important
And what's her
inconsistencies.
car? That Mercedes that's out there?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And you said Bianca had prepared dinner that night.
Yeah, Blanca
Blanca.
cooked dinner that night because Maggie cooks, you know, when the boys are home, or she tries to really for me, but she wasn't going to be there that day. So she had Blanca cook a meal.
How is your relationship with Maggie?
Very good. As good as it could possibly be. I mean, you know, we had our issues.
That's exactly what he said on Monday
but wonderful.
in the last interview.
And I'm just trying to understand the family dynamic.
I understand you got to do what you got to do. I promise.
What was y'all's biggest arguments? What your biggest the things that y'all would argue about the most, what would they be over?
I mean, we really didn't argue, but I'd say the only thing that caused any friction between us is she was always wanting us to go. And I love her in-laws. I mean, they're wonderful people. I love
The
her
in-laws?
death.
You're blaming the
She was
in-laws?
always wanting to go there, stay there a little longer than me and the boys wanted to stay. That was really, and it really, you know, she'd get ticked off.
Yeah.
She wanted to spend more time with her
Her
family.
family. You said her in-law. You mean her family?
I mean, her family. I mean, we really didn't argue about much. We didn't have much to argue about. I mean, I'm sure there was an occasional thing that came up that we argued about, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't think of it.
You might not know what they were arguing about because she was staying at the beach house. She didn't want to argue with him. But again, we don't know how much that will come up in this case.
Yeah. Take your time. Good. Tissue.
I'm sorry.
Good.
And she was a wonderful girl and a wonderful wife. And she was a great mother. She, you know, she didn't work. And she always said it was her job since she was privileged enough not to work. She was going to make sure she took care of me and the boys. And I mean, she did everything. She did absolutely everything. I'm sorry.
No, you have every right to do that.
This is why it's hard just listening. The video makes more sense.
I'm good. You go ahead.
That afternoon, or during the time you and Paul were right.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all go up to around the kennels or anything? Did y'all do anything?
Did you go up to
toward
the kennels?
I'm sure we did. You know, that's our main shop is, you know, right there. But, you know, I mean, we're normally in there for long times tinkering. And I will say that particular day, we did not tinker around there a bunch, you know?
When y'all rode around the farm, what were y'all in the truck or?
Well, we were actually in two trucks. We rode in one truck and then we rode in another truck some. One was the black one and one was the
Which trucks?
white one that was out there.
I have no idea which one the black one and the white one are.
Mr. Alec,
Yes, sir.
you know, the other day when we were there, we came in and we were talking with John a little bit.
Sure.
And you obviously got a lot of, I say a lot, you said 20 or 25 weapons.
Yes, sir.
And you know kind of what you got as far as any kind of, what kind of weapons you may have?
I'm pretty much, yes, sir.
And I know you might not remember them all, but can you kind of run down what you have, what you got, you know, right there?
That I own or that's in there now?
That you own.
Sounds like rain.
That I
That's
own.
in there, you know, or wherever they're at.
And, you know, I mean, Paul has guns scattered all over the place. So, you know.
This is why
some
we
of
heard
our
this in
guns aren't
opening.
There, but, so you want to know all of them or you want to know what I think is in my house? Or what was in my house on Monday?
Yeah, what was in your house? Let's start with what was in your house on Monday.
This is why this was an opening.
Whatever was in my house on Monday, is exactly what was there minus one shotgun that y'all got.
Okay.
No guns have been moved for, there hadn't been any guns moved in and out of there other than when Paul was home.
No
When
guns
Paul
moved.
came home, he would ride around and shoot hogs a lot.
What did he shoot dogs with? most of the time?
I mean, primarily he would shoot them with Buster's gun because
Okay.
Paul had a 300 blackout.
Okay.
And it got, he says it got stolen.
What do you think happened?
And it's been gone for some time.
What did he say Paul liked to do?
To this repeating what the tape says.
What's
jury
the
can hear
objection?
tape. And just
What's the
stopping and
objection?
repeating.
No, what are the
exactly
legal
Mr.
grounds
Murdaugh
for the
says on
objection?
tape.
Excuse me, what are the
This
legal
witness was
grounds?
actually present, and while there is a recording, he's also fair to relate to the jury what he heard being present for that very conversation.
I overrule the objection.
Thank you.
Stop saying thank you. The judges warned both
But
parties now.
Anyway,
And let me ask the question again. What did Mr. Murdaugh tell you that Paul liked to do?
Ride around and shoot hogs.
And what did Mr. Murdaugh tell you that the weapon was he used to do that?
He used his brother's 300 blackout.
so he would use his brother's blackout a lot of times.
So Buster also had a 300.
I gave them both one.
Okay.
Because the prosecution
When
is
was that?
highlighting the important bits and the defense
Years
objected.
ago.
Okay. More than a year ago.
That he lost years
More
ago.
than a year ago. All right, so but he would do anything. Paul had this like a little light that I used that night. Paul would take that thing up to, by 308, and I mean he was always rigging something. So
Going back.
sometimes shotguns when he would go try to kill the hogs, because the piglets would be grouped up, but normally he would have a rifle when he went to shoot the pigs. So, all right, so going back to the guns, y'all want me to tell y'all what was in there? Or don't y'all, have an inventory?
Don't you all have an inventory?
I video that the thing. I didn't write down everything that you had. I just took.
No, sir, we want to know
random
your
design
thought.
of what was.
Don't y'all
on the
have
gun
a
rack,
don't y'all
on the
have an
gun wall,
inventory?
and the gun
Didn't
room,
y'all write it down?
that day?
And there are some more guns that aren't in that gun room, I don't know how many, but
Okay.
like I do know there's a shotgun in my bedroom.
He keeps talking to Jim.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
there's,
it's Jim Griffin, his
Katie,
lawyer that's
Agent
present in
Katie,
court, was present for
Walked with
this.
John and saw that one.
Okay. And I imagine there's probably some in some other rooms. I know that I think it was we have two gun cases, one small one and one big one, and I moved some guns from the little case to the big case just because her mom and dad were in there, and I just took all the guns to the back room.
So did they all go into the
But
gun
that's
room?
after the fact.
This time, could I request a brief break?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll
Why?
take a break. About 10 minutes.
Why are we taking a break? Wait, now I'm curious. Maybe we'll hear them talk about it. Maybe we won't. And then I'll answer some questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I guess there is nothing that's being addressed with the court because we're not hearing anything being addressed with the court. So we will answer some questions until court comes back. The judge is just leaving the bench now. So we will have about a 10-minute break. If we can go ahead and put that in no, they'll say that it's a 10-minute break. Don't worry about it. We have a 10-minute break before this witness, Senior Special Agent Croft, resumes. I think, Dusty, I think the jury has probably woken up for this because this is the defendant's interview and they're getting it on video. So they get to see the defendant's demeanor and they get to talk through that with this defendant. So, or they get to watch through it while the defendant's talking. So that becomes much more engaging, really, than just listening to it. But even listening to it, there's some new information here. But it's kind of funny when they're like, well, where are your guns? And he's like, don't you all know? Did you all take an inventory? You were in there. Which I just thought was kind of funny. So it might have been a bathroom break for the jury, but normally the court decides that. So the court normally decides that. Linda asked this question earlier and we didn't have enough time to get to it. What is the difference between an affidavit of probable cause and a grand jury indictment? So probable cause affidavits are used for a bunch of different things, but we're going to talk arrest affidavits. So probable cause affidavits for arrest is why we think this person did this thing. Go arrest them, then charge them, then the charges get presented at a preliminary hearing, and that becomes the probable cause hearing. In a indictment, you have a probable cause hearing done before a grand jury. The defense is not there. There are obligations on the prosecution to present exculpatory evidence. The standard is the same standard at a preliminary hearing, but it is a secret procedure. And then when those are unsealed, an arrest warrant is issued on the indictment, and they are asked which charges to indict on. Sometimes grand juries can serve an investigative function where they say, okay, we want this information before we indict. So they work in a dual purpose. Like A, they can ask for more information, but B, they can also bring down an indictment on the charges that are suggested. They can suggest their own charges at some point or in some jurisdictions. So that's the difference. The grand jury procedure skips the preliminary hearing bit and goes directly to an arrest warrant once it's unsealed. Are SLED still investigating Buster for Sam Smith's death in 2015, said to have been reopened? I don't know if they have publicly named a suspect, but the murder has been reopened. If Paul was out on bail for the DUI accident, can he be in possession of a gun in South Carolina? I have not looked at the laws there about whether he can or cannot. So I can't answer that on legal grounds for you. Music to my soul. You might be too rich if you're losing boats. Yep. He was misplacing my boats. Yep. If the jury watching video or hearing audio, they're watching the video and hearing the audio. So this video is going to be done similar to the first night that we saw, the night of the murder. We saw that interview happen in the agent's vehicle. I imagine this is the same vehicle because it's the same agent asking the questions. So it's going to be the same setup. And this vehicle has obviously the video recording and audio recording in there ready to go. So that's what it is there to me. Question, that seems like such a late nap, or is that just me? It does seem like a late nap. It's very odd to me that he's like, I heard something pull up and I thought it was them, but then he was texting Maggie to see if she was coming with him to see his mom, and he thought they pulled up, but he didn't wait to see. It's odd. Is the Snapchat going to be allowed as evidence? I suspect so, but we haven't seen the foundation laid for that yet. We'll get a witness from Snapchat to do that. My opinion about all the you-knows is that he's lying, classic signal. I understand some of the you-knows. Some of them seem well-placed. When I walked back up to the kennels and and then I found my wife and son dead. But some of the questions he just doesn't answer and drops into a you-know and then moves on. And that's very interesting to me. Samantha, I couldn't listen to any of these cases without your commentary. Thank you for being here. Well, thank you. I enjoy doing commentary. What's odd to me is that he didn't go looking if he heard someone was around. Same. My farm cousins are ready if someone is sus, and my boyfriend is loaded if he sees a car he doesn't recognize on their driveway. I'm that person too. I'm like, nobody should be in my yard. It's like, what? I have not a huge property, but I have some property. More that people shouldn't be on. I have property that there is no reason anybody should be walking through. And if I see people walking, I'm like, why are you here? Why are you here? What are you doing? So yeah, they're off the beaten path. Why would anyone roll up on their property? I'd want to know too. I'd absolutely want to know too. So, it's kind of hard though. Darkfire Zero, get the fuck off my 1,700 acres. It's kind of hard because they don't have cameras. They only have cameras near the deer blinds. So that's tough. Was his lawyer with him during this interview? They said Jim was there. So yes. Yes. I'm going to try to get to a few more. The Russell Lafitte court case, it came out that the law group confronted Alec the morning of the murders about the missing loans from his clients. It was my understanding that they fired him on September 3rd, but we should hear more about what was going on at the law firm the day of the murders. And yes, Russell Lafitte's federal case is separate but related to this case. And we will hear more about what was going on at the law firm because he did say he left work early that day and there was missing funds from clients, but they said they didn't know about Gloria Satterfield until like September. So there's that. Question, why is the attorney general prosecuting the case, not the local state's attorney? Conflict. I don't know if we'll get into that much, but this, I think once they determined, and maybe August gives us an idea of when they determined they were going to be looking at Alec Moore as a suspect, is maybe when the attorney general took over just because of conflict and to avoid the appearance of impropriety. Alec Murdaugh had a badge from the solicitor's office. He was allowed to, by all accounts, wander in and say, I want to prosecute this case or I want to prosecute that case, and only did it once. But he still wielded a tremendous amount of power and privilege in that prosecutor's office, even though he wasn't employed by them. He was just like a deputy prosecutor that could come in whenever he wanted. Did the murders bring attention to his financial crimes? The financial crimes were starting to unwind because of the boat case with regard to Mallory Beach and because of the civil cases where civil discovery was going to be ongoing. His defense attorneys are going to argue the civil discovery wasn't enough to uncover these crimes. The prosecution is saying the civil discovery would have proven more that these crimes were unwinding and that attention needed to be brought to his finance. But no, the financial crimes didn't unwind till after this. And it all started tumbling down with regard to Gloria Satterfield's settlement that was not a proper settlement where he stole money from her family. That seemed to me to be the kind of the string that started to unravel the thread, or the thread that started to unravel the sweater. He had some pretty nervous throat clearing during that recording. My father-in-law does the same thing when he has a fly for vacation. I didn't understand the end of that, Courtney. I'm sorry, but he had that going on in the other interview too. Did he say that he thought he might have heard a big cat animal and that Maggie liked to walk and then he just left like no big deal? He said he saw something run across and it was like a cat, but it could have been a person, but he didn't really know. Look, man, I am a cat person. I'm not worried. I can't tell the difference between a cat and a human. Lawn Lumber, being an attorney up in the chat, why are you volunteering your cell phone? We legit have an obligation to file motions to quash, even if we get subpoenas for our info. We can't just voluntarily give it over. It's very concerning that he gave it over, but they did say they had a taint attorney. So we need to talk about, we've gotten far enough away from the testimony to talk about the taint attorney. I didn't mean to start it over.
I'm sorry. I started it over. I didn't mean to. I was trying to boogie. And I accidentally started it over. I'm sorry.
This is why I said we can't name the pickle till the end of trial, because if he becomes attorney of taint, we have a whole nother conversation. So taint attorney, who maintains the taint? There is a appointed taint attorney. The taint attorney is intended to not be associated or affiliated with the case and to go through the discovery from the phone and block out, redact out, pull out attorney-client information that might be privileged attorney-client information on Alec Murdaugh's personal phone. Text messages with clients, discussions about the cases either he's dealing with, like his boat case and his other cases and his son's boat case, all of that. So that is the boat case. Look, I see that I have pronounced Clemson improperly. everybody's telling me there's a P. There's not a P in the way that word is spelled. But I see you, chat. I see you. Look, I don't always know things. To all of the Clemson, are y'all the Tigers that I've offended? I deeply apologize for my inability to pronounce things. I'm sorry. Emily, do you realize you have an official pickle dance? It feels like a pickle dance. So that's what the taint attorney is for. The taint attorney is not the attorney of the taint. It is the attorney that makes sure that there is no improper turning over of attorney-client privileged information. So that, are you sure it's not just attorneys for taints? I'm positive it's not just attorneys for taints. What about the stolen gun? Look, it's not spelled Clemson. Sir Pickle Taint, Tainted Dickle. I mean, it might be. So I'm confused. Clemson is proper. Thank you. Clemson, no P. Everybody keeps putting in a P. I don't know. Look, I'll go sort it out on the internet. Stacks of taints attorneys. Yes. As a Wolfpack fan, I denounce Emily's apology for the Clemson pronunciation. Who is the Wolfpack, Rob? What are you even talking about? Are you then? I think Rob has just told the chat that maybe he is in fact Team Jacob because we're talking about the Wolfpack. It's a Twilight reference, right, Rob?
We're totally talking about Twilight, right?
I'll let Rob let me know in the chat. We're going to keep going. Anyway, talking about the taint. Damn it. Talking about attorney-client privilege. There will be an attorney that is like a special master for doing that stuff, kind of. So that's what we're doing. Wolfpack equals NC State University. Rob said, of course, nothing to do with sports ball. No, of course it's to deal with Twilight, obviously. So, all right. We're done talking about the taint attorney. I think we've made it clear. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Hello, Miguelina. Good to see you. I'm just chatting with the mods. We're almost back from lunch. The court has his coffee and or fizzy water. Your Honor, where are you coming in from? What are you drinking?
Bring the jury, please.
Bring the jury. I think the court appreciates that the people asked for a break instead of just like proceeding ahead when they needed a minute. I mean, it is 4:27. How much longer are we going? We might not get to cross-examination of this witness today. Ugh. He already looks pissed, right? Because it's already 4:27 in the East. I'm making myself a plaque that titles me Attorney of Taint. Homesick with the flu. Hello from Texas. Dilettante. It's funny. I am going to be asking my husband if he's dealt with taint attorneys at work or attorneys of taint or what have you. Had to break for 420. Yes, clearly they did. It might have been. I don't think weed is legal in South Carolina to the best of my remembrance. I don't believe they do the things. I think they have some of the weird laws where certain amounts of CBD are fine and some types of hemp products are fine, but like THC is not fine. I don't know. I am definitely not an expert in the laws across the country, but I don't think it is legal.
Thank you. You may proceed.
You may
Thank you,
proceed.
Your Honor.
All right.
For the record, we're resuming.
I might leave this on this screen to
Publishing of
see
Stacey 7243.
if the
and we're
sound's
picking
not
up
as
at 36
peaking.
minutes and 15 seconds in the video.
I'm hoping that the sound
actually
doesn't
gonna
peak as
back it
bad.
up
What are
10
you backing out of?
Since we took a break.
Creighton, what are we backing out
You
of?
know, her mom and dad were in there, and I just took all the guns to the back room.
Let me know if this sound is better for y'all.
But that's after the fact.
Would those guns have been in the room, in the gun room when we came up there with John?
I can't remember exactly when y'all came, but probably. I think y'all came a little bit because it was a good while before y'all came.
You had earlier shown some body cam footage of your search of the gun room. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is
Ultimately,
much
that
better.
day on June 8th, 2021, did agents also go to other areas of the residence?
Problem is no closed captioning.
firearms that fit the description or fit the caliber of the two weapons from the murder scene?
Yes, sir, they did.
And by two weapons, I should say two calibers from the murder scene.
Yes, sir.
And that would be 300 blackout and 12 gauge.
That is correct.
So ultimately, these weapons that were seized, those are the only ones recovered matching those two calibers.
That is correct.
Calibers. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
probably
they were
2 o'clock or so that afternoon before we got here.
Now, did y'all keep any guns out at the kennels?
He didn't keep guns out there, but there were always guns out there.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you, we were all a little bit bad about it, but Paul was the worst. You know, he was the worst.
He would leave a gun out there?
He would leave anything anywhere. And, you know, it was not unusual for there to be guns out there.
Did y'all take the
But like, I can tell you that, I mean, they told me that the 300 blackout was used in this. That 300 blackout, you know, it was not out there.
so y'all
You're
didn't use
sure?
that for target practice, or he didn't have it out there with them on Monday?
No.
Okay. No, that's right, because it was in the house.
What did the defendant tell you about whether or not there was a 300 blackout present at the kennels on the
That's
night of the
important.
murders?
He said it was not out there.
So Paul said that one was stolen or lost, and it was some time ago.
No sign that anybody broke into the
Was that
house.
reported anywhere?
It wasn't officially reported because I wasn't totally convinced it was stolen,
Okay.
you know, as opposed to lost. But
Not
I mean,
reported.
you know, I mean, there was people told about it.
Yeah.
I
What do you
know that I told John Bedingfield about it. I know that I told some other local officers about it, you know, just in case it turned up in a drug thing.
Maybe report it
I didn't do an official report.
Okay.
in case it turned up in a drug thing. I just texted my buddies. I didn't make a report
The
on paper,
two
but I like
that
texted my buddies
bought for the
so they would
boys,
know because I just have a direct
each one
line.
of them had one, and the one Paul lost. Is that the only
Interesting.
ones that you have?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I thought that Paul got another one replaced, but Buster said we didn't. But I was certain that we did.
I thought we replaced it. Buster said we didn't. Does this man not know how many ARs he has on his property? Oh yeah. If you lose a
But,
firearm,
I
report
mean,
it. If
my
it's stolen,
memory
report
is
it.
It's been gone for a
It's-
substantial while too.
It's been missing since like 2018.
Long pause. What did Alec Murdaugh, the defendant over there, tell you about the third blackout?
To his memory, it had been gone for a substantial amount of time too.
Do you remember anything about
The murder
them?
weapon.
As far as, were they the same colors?
They were identical except for colors.
Okay. Which one was Buster's?
Buster's the one we still have. Paul's the one that lost his.
Okay.
Where's the third one?
What were the two colors?
Black and tan. Buster's is black. Paul's was tan.
Okay.
Buster's is the one in court. I mean, I also buy my kids stuff in different colors.
And you say you thought you replaced it after you
This,
lost
but
it with
I'm-
another one.
I'm all but
Buster says you didn't.
I believe that we did.
Okay.
I mean, there'll be a record of that, won't it?
Should be, yes, sir.
He's asking the police, won't there be a record of me buying
I
a
know
gun?
we replaced it.
Yes. Yes, there would be. And there is. We have the record. It was purchased in like 2021 or something.
But, you know, I know we replaced it because I wouldn't replace it again. Maybe I just think that now. I don't know. But I'm certain we replaced it.
That sounds absolutely true. I know we replaced it because I said I wasn't replacing it again. Anyone whose kids ever lost shit, it's like, I'm not replacing
Have
this
you talked
again.
to CB Road?
That rings true to me.
Since Monday or Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Because I know we talked about what he had done on the farm. Is he still employed?
He's still employed because I got to have somebody keeping it clean, but I mean, I can't keep him.
Hmm.
I mean, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
This is their groundskeeper.
And, you know I told you, I don't know why that story seemed important to me the other night.
Yeah.
Oh, the Black
I really
Panthers.
can't see CB Rowe doing, I just can't. I really do not believe that.
Well,
sir.
I mean, it's an odd story.
It's a messed up story.
And, you know.
Well, at least
and
we're
I'm
all on the
just-
same page with the story.
Being in law enforcement for so long and working these type cases, and I don't know the Arlington area, but talking to Colleton County and seeing the property and how isolated it is, finding somebody that's just going to randomly come up there
Oh, this isn't a random
that
crime.
late at night that doesn't know the property, you know, that's, so of course I have to look within and then start working my way out.
So you feel like it's not random. You feel like it's intentional. I mean, planned.
I don't know what to feel right now.
That's an interesting exchange.
And I hate to say that. I don't know what to feel right now.
So do y'all have any good clues?
I'm going to want to listen to that
All of
again.
the evidence that we collected Tuesday morning, and we collected additional evidence on Tuesday afternoon. They collected evidence at autopsy today. So we're trying to put a rush on that to get an answer quick. And
He did. He didn't bring it up again there, though.
That's going to tell us something.
By evidence, I mean, is it things you think are going to be helpful?
Well, I mean, the shot shells out there, the casings, the DNA swabs that we took from the door handle to see if anybody touched the door handles, any other places that we think somebody may have touched
I think they're both fishing.
while they were out there. You know, we're trying to collect DNA from that and analyze that. Which at the conclusion of this, what I'm going to also ask is that we get a buccal swab, a DNA swab from you.
No problem.
Your DNA is going to be there, but we need to eliminate it once it's developed.
We need to eliminate it
so,
because
you know,
you live there.
We don't need
So-
that unknown
yeah.
when it actually is a family member.
That's no problem.
I mean,
Yep.
we have talked to
When he thought they had a lead.
close to 100 people.
And that
trying
can
to
go
track
both
people down, and we're
ways.
still tracking people down. And that's why, you know, who Paul was with.
I want to tell you one thing while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Paul,
Not about the
was
Black
really-
Panthers, please.
an incredibly intuitive little dude.
Mhm.
And I mean, he was like a little detective. And I mean,
Would you like
Paul would,
what?
you know, you know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
No?
Which leads me to, let's go back to Paul right quick while we're on him. So we have his phone. Do you know his passcode?
I don't. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. There's a few people I can point you to,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that he was super, super, super secretive with that. I mean, cell phone. I asked his brother if he knew it. Did the ones that they got the other day didn't?
When
Work.
did y'all get any the other day?
Not for Paul's phone. No.
Okay. I know they got Maggie's code.
I know
network.
Maggie.
Yeah.
And it works, or it worked.
Yeah.
I've not gotten it, but there's a lot of people out moving parts that, you know, may have gotten that information. So we'll
Knowing the
follow up on it.
codes
If
to your
you
adult
believe somebody
children's phone
gave us
can
the codes for
speed up
Paul's,
stuff like this.
or
If
possible
you are
code
ever
for
in that
Paul's.
horrible, horrible circumstance.
You know, maybe
Search
it
warrants
was
can take
Maggie's, I don't-
days
Okay.
and more.
But I'll find out. I will try to find out Paul's code.
Yeah.
Search warrant returns to get GPS locations can take weeks.
But it will surprise me greatly if somebody knows it.
I'm not surprised the 22-year-old
I mean,
is like, get the
certainly,
fuck out of my phone. I'm not
You know,
surprised by
talking
that at
about the
all.
investigation, certainly we're looking at every angle, trying to figure out what fits. And we're talking to, you know, people that were involved in the boat case. we're trying to track down people that Paul knew and were friends with. That's why I asked who he was in Charleston with, so we can go try and see if they might know something or try to figure something out. We're trying to get into his phone to see if there's any information, see if he got like a direct threat from somebody there. I mean, the people that are here are not the only ones working on this. We've got people out doing things right now.
The investigating officer sounds incredibly compassionate.
We're trying to pull everything in.
Almost apologetic.
Just the area, Arlington, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people moving around. I mean, I've got somebody looking at videos right now back at the office, combing through hours of videos that we've gone out and collected.
Good advice, Rob.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Very much.
So.
This also doesn't
You
feel
don't have to call me
assertive
miss. You just call me Alec. Thank you for that.
or aggressive.
When
Alec doesn't
y'all-
seem annoyed.
when you and Paul got back to the house, Miss Maggie's there, and y'all eat supper, which has been prepared. And you said you laid down and took a little nap. And when you got up, Maggie and Paul was gone, or did they leave when you laid down? Or before you laid down?
I believe that I'm not sure.
But they weren't there when you woke up around the 9 o'clock mark or so when you made the call to Maggie to let her know you was going to your
No, nobody was in that house when I left.
So, and just trying to narrow that, the last time that you saw Paul and Maggie's when y'all were eating supper.
Yes, sir.
Oh, of course they
Asked
paused.
the defendant, when was the last time he saw Maggie and Paul? What did he tell
Creighton's
you?
voice
When he
changed.
was eating supper.
Until you came back from your mom's.
That's the not dealing the facts part.
Yes, sir. Found what you found.
Laying the foundation for the Snapchat video that contradicts that.
Yeah,
Contradicts that.
Alex probably told you all this.
Sounds like Alex started crying again.
He did. Check for a pulse. Yes.
Right, and that's why we want to do the DNA.
But I expect it.
Right.
L. Johnson, same.
Yes.
When you
A lot of people have.
tried
worse.
to turn Paul over, do you know if you tried to turn him like towards the kennels or away from the kennels and his phone fell out?
Away. I think I turned him away.
I turned him
Was
away.
he left-handed or right-handed?
He was right-handed.
Where did he normally keep his phone?
I mean, usually in his hand. But
The defendant was asked during this interview.
That's such an honest
where
answer.
Paul normally kept his phone. What did he say?
Usually in his hand.
I mean,
That's such a, that
you know,
hits
it's
me as such a
always on
real parent
pocket.
moment.
hand, truck.
Where did Maggie carry her phone?
Don't feel bad for laughing. It's a very human moment. That was such
Anywhere
a,
she could?
Yes, sir.
and it doesn't mean he didn't do this. It doesn't mean he did. That was just such a human moment. Sarah, I see it. I'm going to
Did
flag
y'all
it. I
get
did answer that
fingerprints
this
on her
morning, though.
phone?
But I'll
I
flag it
haven't
again.
gotten that back yet.
And that's what's hard with interviews. You're going to get these moments of truth woven in.
When Paul's phone came out,
Moments of truth woven in.
you just pick it up.
To
and
the
put
last
it
time
on,
I saw them was
place it
at
back
dinner.
down on him, or
You know, yeah, I did not try to open it or anything. You know, I don't
Interesting.
know how I had in my mind that I needed to not mess anything up. I had that I had that, you know,
But you tried to flip him over.
somehow I had that presence of mind that I needed to not mess anything up.
But you tried to
And
flip
so-
him over.
I tried not to.
And you definitely saw a traumatic
Yep.
picture, and I know it's not hard or not easy.
He said it on 911, and he said it in the first interview that he knew that Paul was gone.
And sitting here talking today is tough.
It's just so bad. I did it so bad.
You asked the defendant about traumatic picture that he saw.
It was
Paul
bad.
and Maggie. What did he say?
It's just so bad. I did him so bad.
I did him so bad.
Yes, sir.
What? He's saying that's not what I said.
He's such a good boy, too.
I didn't catch that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And,
Creighton?
but, you know, the little things.
We need to back the fuck up, my guy.
Is necessary so that we can get a little better picture.
Chat, beg my indulgence. I appreciate y'all. We're playing that back. I'm sorry. Look, we're not sitting in court, so we get a moment. We're rolling the tape back. Y'all, I need to hear that again. Because seriously, I was distracted by the woman back there that looked like she was crying. We're rolling it back. We'll catch up to live. We'll catch up to live. But if what we just heard in court is it's so bad, I did him so bad, then this is information that is new and a very, very fucking big deal. Because what is happening? I need to hear it again. All right. Hopefully we backed up enough.
Somehow I had that presence of mind that I needed to not mess anything up. And so I tried not to.
And you definitely saw a traumatic picture. And
I'm going to pause this only because I am going to gain up the audio on my system because this audio has not been peaking. That's why we switched. All right, let's see what we hear.
and I know it's not hard or not easy. I know it's hard. And sitting here talking today is tough.
It's just so bad. I did it so bad.
You asked the defendant about
I heard I did it
traumatic
so bad.
picture that he saw of Paul.
We're going back one more time. It's just so bad. I did it so bad is what I heard.
And sitting here talking today is tough.
It's just so bad. I did it so bad.
You asked the defendant about traumatic picture that he saw of Paul and Maggie. What did he say?
It's just so bad. I did him so bad.
I did him so bad.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
He's such a good boy.
Some of you are saying they, not I.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're going to have to argue that's a they did him so bad, not I did him so
The
bad.
little things that we've
I
got
understand.
is necessary so that we can get a little better picture as to what may have happened.
This is going to be a big deal between they did
Well, I
him so
just thank
bad,
y'all for everything.
I did him so
You know,
bad.
My in-laws, my parents,
Or
my
I did it
in-laws,
so bad.
I would like somebody to update me or my brother or somebody so that I can tell them as y'all
Wow.
discover things. Unless there's some reason y'all don't do that.
Well,
I mean, they just have so many questions.
I understand. And
I mean, they may even, well, no, they don't.
well, I mean, I know Maggie's mother just had a knee replacement. How is their health overall other than that?
You know, they're ailing a little bit. They're
Mhm.
getting on up there. Daddy has some neuropathy, but I mean, they're in good physical help. They're in good.
And law enforcement just keeps them talking.
Their fortitude is good. They're just, they're just getting age on them.
Yes, sir. Are they in Somerville or are they at the house on Moselle?
No, they live in Somerville.
Okay.
But they're here now.
Oh, they're here in this house?
No, they're in Moselle.
Okay. Because I'll go by and speak with them and meet with them. If you think that would help.
I think that would help a tremendous amount if you would just be willing just to sit down and let them. Hearing from me and John Marvin and Danny and whoever, what little tidbits y'all get.
The prosecution's going to argue that was a slipped-in confession.
To know that y'all got a team of people out there.
That in his grief, he slipped and said, "I did him so bad,"
just to really
or "I did it so bad."
Have something, a tangible person instead of being told.
That was surprising. He didn't mention it. The prosecution didn't mention it in opening. They let that slip in, and then.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get that.
They let it slip in and then highlighted it by stopping the tape and confirming with the officer, because it did go by so fast. It went by so fast. And that's why they're letting him continue to ramble. So the defense is going to argue he's saying they did him so bad. The prosecution's going to argue it's I.
Yeah, her mom and dad are just such good people. They're just
Doing all
wonderful
that, some of the
people.
other guys are back at the office.
Love her so much, and
Everybody we can deal with.
it really would make them feel
The
good.
jury won't be able to slow the audio.
What are their names?
A lot of,
They'll only be able to re-listen like we
My father-in-law's
did.
name is Terry.
but yes, we can.
My mother-in-law's name is Kennedy.
Yeah, we need to see the video.
And they're Brandstetters.
I agree.
And my sister-in-law, who
I need to see him. I need to see him talking.
Branstetter, and
We need to hear.
then
We
my
need to see him.
sister-in-law, who was closest to Maggie in the whole world, is Marion Proctor.
Defense did not.
Bart Proctor.
Defense did not object that it misstates the evidence. They sure
They live in
didn't.
Charleston.
Do you have a contact number?
It's very
Or
dramatic,
any-
zeroing in on the tears.
I know their numbers.
Okay.
843.
Are you crying because you're sad about your son, or are you crying because the prosecution just highlighted what was said there?
With consent of the defense, just so that number is not broadcast.
Good. Now we've learned. Don't broadcast the numbers. They should have been redacted out. So interesting stuff. But once we see him, we will see. It'll be easier truly to say. But you could see his mouth. He said, "I didn't say that." That's what he said to his attorneys. And we'll see. Again, when we look at the video, we will see. I'm going to try to catch up. Oh, I had the opportunity and I lost it. To zoom.
My life depended on it. I couldn't tell anybody, my mother-in-law or father-in-law.
I'm telling you, man, I've been the luckiest person in the world with in-laws. They are wonderful.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's my in-laws that I like. It's my wife's in-laws I don't.
There you go.
Let me grab a piece of paper.
Ha ha, officer. However, the deputy is doing a very good job, of establishing rapport with him.
Here's Will Chapman's number. Okay.
Can we zoom past the numbers? Please. I hope he's fast forwarding those.
Mute it because another contact number is given, I believe, with consent of the defense.
Yes, right.
So they're muting it for that number. I'm zooming it. So what we need is the officer who did the interview. I would like to hear what that officer thought was said. So I'm trying to zoom just a little bit so we can catch up back to live. back to live coverage.
In the Victims Advocate Program, they help with different things. I think more specifically, what would be more beneficial, especially for you and Buster, is some counseling down the road, grief counseling.
I do some assistant solicitor's work.
Yeah.
So,
We're aware.
familiar with the thing, but thank you so
Yes, sir.
much.
Discussion about Victims Advocate. What did Mr. Murdaugh tell you about his career?
That he did some assistant solicitors work, and he was familiar with the program.
And again, what is an assistant solicitor?
He's a prosecutor which prosecutes criminal offenses.
Okay. Criminal prosecutor?
Yes, sir.
I hope they're not going to lean into the fact that he's a criminal prosecutor, therefore he planned a crime better, because he was barely involved at the prosecutor's office.
I know y'all planned out the funeral today. When is the funeral?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all have
Well,
visit.
We're doing a service tomorrow. Maggie and Paul aren't going to be ready until next week. So we're doing a service tomorrow, and then we're going to have a private family thing one day next week.
Okay. Are y'all doing anything tonight? Because I can run by and talk to Terry and Kennedy tonight.
Murdaugh is much taller than his attorneys. All sitting there like
peace of
that.
mind that would really help them.
Okay.
That's convenient for you. So we're out at the house tonight, but and if for some reason they go back early because of the service tomorrow, that they may be staying tonight, they may not be, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All of their cousins and family on the Branstetter side and the Hubbard side is coming in from Kentucky. And so they may be going back to stay with them.
Okay.
I'll find out and call you. I think you called me.
Yes, sir.
On this date of this interview on June 10th, 2021, to your knowledge, had there been another death in the family?
The father.
At this point, it had not.
Okay. Was there one not long after this?
Yes, it was.
And who died?
Mr. Alex's father,
And what was his name?
Randolph.
Jim's got my number.
Okay.
I gave him my phone.
I'll find out and
Okay.
call you in just a minute.
Okay.
So this is 2 days after the murders. I believe Randolph passed 4 days after the murders.
You good?
Question, are there
All right,
captions for the jury? No. That's part of why the prosecutor's stopping
Do you
and
have any other
highlighting.
questions that I might be able to answer right now that we hadn't gone over?
No, sir.
As soon as I get something,
But again, defense is arguing
and
these
if
are
it's okay with
aggressive
you,
interviews.
John Marvin asked me to go through him.
That's
The
fine.
interviewing
So I'm
officer
not
sounds
bothering you in
apologetic.
case you're doing something. What time is the service tomorrow?
12 o'clock,
Okay. Where is that going to be?
Hampton,
What, at the church or?
it's Graveside.
Okay. So if I get something around that time, I won't bother you. I'll wait 1:30 and,
If you get anything important, you can call me anytime.
okay.
Anytime.
Okay. Are y'all going to publicize the service or is it just going to be for family and friends?
No, sir, it's gonna be, it's gonna be open, but I got TC and those making sure I don't want any press anywhere near.
Yeah.
So
No, they don't deserve to be near.
they're gonna make sure, in the town of Hampton that, there's no press.
Okay.
These
All
seem
right. Well, y'all
like
got my numbers.
very-
I think you said with that phone, it'll take a while.
Gentle.
I'm going to go check on it. Y'all go back in the house.
interviews.
When it's done, I'll bring it to
Let
you.
me do the.
Oh, the buckle, yes. Let's do the buckle swab.
So then
right
they're going to
quick.
do a DNA swab and they're downloading his phone while this is going on.
Oh, what?
The buckle.
There's a question asked about, do you think he's through with that phone? What were they talking about?
Mr. Alex's phone, which he had given to us to do a download on.
And who was doing that download again?
Dylan Hightower.
And that was occurring while this interview was going on?
Yes, sir.
Now you're discussing the buccal swab, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
The buckle swab, yeah.
Oh, do I need to spit out my tobacco?
It might be better.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that might explain some of all the mouth noises.
And I'll get everything together.
Yes, please spit
I'm
out
doing
your
consent
chew
now.
before you
That's
do a
fine.
DNA
I'm going.
swab.
Where's your gloves at?
You didn't grab gloves?
I did not, but I know one of these vehicles got gloves. I'm not in mine.
All right, I'm going to speed this up a little because they're going to take the DNA swab.
1 hour and 2 minutes. What happens next? What if anything are you about to do?
I'm fixing the glove up. I'm going to secure the cotton swabs, the sterile cotton swabs, and getting ready to do the buccal swab
And who do you do the buccal swab of?
on Alex Murdaugh.
The person you've been describing as Alex, person you interviewed, you see him in the courtroom here today?
Yes,
Good
sir. I do.
identification.
Identifying for the jury,
He's
please.
sitting at the defense table with the, looks like navy blue blazer on.
You got to identify the person sitting in court, the same person that's on the video, even if the jurors can see it with their eyes. It's part of the proper procedure.
Right, can the record reflect he's identified the defendant? Thank you. I'm going to show you real quick what's been marked as State's Exhibit 157. And see if
Stacey,
you
it's a
recognize
very
that.
good point. It's a very good point,
Yes,
and
I
I
did.
think
All
some of
right,
that
can you
has
tell
to
the
do
jury
with
what
his
that is?
power.
That is the buccal
Also-
swab, which I collected from Mr. Alex Murdaugh.
They waited. Law enforcement might not have re-listened to these. Might not have
This time, I
re-listened to
would offer
these.
State's 157 into evidence, I believe, without objection.
That's the buccal swab.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Submitted without objection.
Jim's like, what? It's late, Your Honor.
Buccal swab, you took
It's
that
5
day,
o'clock.
video.
Yes, sir, it is.
Can we be done?
After that, where does that buccal swab go?
It was turned over to crime scene and went to the lab for testing.
And is it general practice with any sort of evidence like this to secure it from any tampering while it's turned over to crime scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Writing
see
on
the
the back of
video
this,
on Alex's interview.
This evidence slip, whose writing is that?
That would be David Owen, and he collected by Jeff Croft.
So it looks like we're done. But also, this case got turned over to the Attorney General 2 months after this for their investigation. Local prosecutors had it. He looks pissed. Local prosecutors had it. So I don't know when they would have re-listened to those interviews. But I'm speeding this back up. I'm very interested to see this with the video.
Show you what's been
Hopefully
marked
we'll
as
see that
States
later
218,
today.
States 219, States 220. And just generally see if you recognize those particular documents.
Oh, I did. I sped it up. I sped it up so we could catch up to the live feed because I rewound twice to hear whether it was they, I. And this is just, again, admitting evidence that if we go it a little bit faster, it's going to all be all right.
Yes,
So-
sir, I do.
And generally, what are those
Property receipts for items that were seized during the searches at the residence.
that you previously described to this jury?
Yes, sir.
Firearms evidence and the like?
That's correct.
Your Honor, this time the state would move 218, 219, and 220 into evidence, I believe, without objection.
Submitted there.
More foundational. And they are chatting about the rest of it. So it'll be interesting. Again, when this video comes out, it will be very interesting to see what his face looks like as he's saying that, and will give us a lot more context. Back to the stool. Maybe they show more body language. No, I just think those are the court stools. Truly. Feel like Emily will appreciate my recent day at the law firm I work at, where I dealt with a hate crime, a fire, and a petrol bomb all in 2 hours. That's a lot of a day. A lot of a day.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 156, and I'm going to get you to pull out your, in fact, though, if the clerk.
This is not the officer that did the interview. It sounds like the same officer that was in the first interview, and the officer that was interviewing referenced
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's
that
Exhibit,
first interview
156.
the night of the
And
crime.
I'm gonna
So it's not
Ask you, if
this
you could, to open the
officer
sealed
doing the
package box and
interview.
See what's inside.
He was there, but it doesn't sound like he's the main interviewing officer, because the other officer that was in the front seat of the car, unless I misunderstood, and this is the officer that was in the front seat of the car the first night, because they introduced that video with the female officer that was in the back seat, unless this is that officer whose car it is. So I think he was present, but I don't think he was the one asking the questions. That's my understanding. I've listened to it several times at 0.5 speed, and I hear A, did it do bad? Could easily be I or they. Woof. It's going to be up for the jury to decide, truly. And that's why you have a jury of your peers, a regional jury that's going to be able to say, oh, this is what we hear. This is what we think he's saying.
All right, I'm going to ask you to hold on to that one. I ask you to return these back into that pouch if you could, please.
And I agree with this too, Java. I did him so bad, as in I failed to keep him safe. I could absolutely see that argument too. Absolutely can see that argument. Not a confession to the crime. We see Nancy Grace is still in the courtroom. Not a confession to the crime, but a how did I let this happen? Or even saying I tried to turn him over and that made it bad.
156 on this particular
I think there's a lot of
exhibit.
ways
Can
to
you tell the
interpret
jury
it.
if you recognize that, what that is, please?
That is the buccal swab that was collected from Rogan Gibson.
Who collected that buccal swab?
I did.
Did Rogan consent to that buccal swab?
He did.
And did you secure it from any tampering and turn it over to the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would move states 156 into evidence, I believe, without objection.
No objection.
You're admitted, or it's admitted without objection.
So another swab. It is now 5:05. At some point, the judge is going to say, how many more questions do you have? So a friend of mine just texted me. She said, I laughed out loud at work about losing votes. I feel like it might be a song, Close in Other Area Codes. That could be a country song or a rap song.
I'll show you what's
Close
the
in Other Area Codes.
Identification at this time, see if you recognize this particular item.
Maybe Alex Murdaugh meant how he treated
Yes,
him.
sir, I do.
I think there's a
Someone
lot of
know
ways
what
to
that
argue
is,
it.
It's a proper receipt for the buccal swab that we took, or I took from Mr. Alexander Murdaugh.
And that's the one from the video that's has been played for the jury?
Yes, sir, it is.
This time, Your Honor, I
A lot of
move states
DNA
155
swabs.
into
This
evidence,
is
I
all
believe, without objection.
foundational.
Submitted.
So go back to 2 o'clock and see him smirk to his attorney. I will replay later. Sarah, I did touch on this morning. The jurors can't discuss anything related to the case, including the attorneys, until they get into deliberation.
Court's indulgence, 1 moment.
So they can't discuss any of it. And they shouldn't. They normally stay away from talking about any testimony, and they talk about the weather and their families and what book they're reading or whatever. Can't everyone tell he is leading the investigation like a good
Direct
lawyer does?
examination of Senior Special Agent Croft.
He's trying to. Dick is fighting to stay awake. Yep.
I think we will call it a day. And start at 9:30
The court is
tomorrow
done.
morning. Please do not discuss the case.
And we're done. I always wonder how this judge picks. He's like, it's after 5. And you paused. It's like the attorneys paused too long to ask a question. And the court's like, you're done. You waited too long between breaths. We're out. He has been running a tight ship, 9:30 a.m. to right around 5 o'clock p.m. every day, which is nice. All right. So we're wrapping up with court for the day. The jury's been excused. We'll see if there's any matters the attorneys need to take up, and then we will go from there. So we will see what happens there. And then we will see if that video is released like it was Friday. That video was released.
Are there any matters we need to address before the recess? All right, we'll be in recess till
All right.
9:30.
No matters to take up. The court is in recess till 9:30. The judge is descending the glorious blue throne of leather, and we are done. I know that Law and Crime already has the body cam footage from the search. I see that that's on Twitter. I will go look and see if that's elsewhere. They also, there's no audio, but they still have video of what's going on in the courtroom. You know how I love to see the interactions in the courtroom at the end of the day. So I'm just going to leave that up on screen so we can look at it. And then I'll go find that other footage. I like seeing who's interacting with who's watching what. Are the bailiffs telling people to leave? Or people just trying to leave on their own? So I'm always interested at what's happening at the end of the day. And we will, we do have some additional pictures. We do see that the formal charges in the Alec Baldwin case will be filed tomorrow. I don't know why the DA in that case has released, like, we're going to charge them, and then we're going to charge them, and then it's coming tomorrow. Like, just charge them and then tell us. It looks like Alec is talking a little bit to Buster. Next to Buster in court, it's my understanding that that's Buster's girlfriend. He and Buster have talked quite a lot on jail calls. Did Buster just give him the thumbs up for the day? Was that okay? So let's see. Unseen King. Justice may be blind, but the throne is glorious. That judge's throne is glorious, and I quite like this judge a lot. Haxley, I just cracked level 361 on 2 dots. You are way ahead of me. way ahead of me. And again, I'm leaving this on while Alec is engaging with his attorneys. This is his brother, his son's girlfriend, and then his sister there in court and other members of the public. So let's see. Is Buster the golden child? I don't know. Buster got kicked out of law school, and they talk about it a bunch on their jail calls. That is on the Murdaugh Murders podcast. I believe some of that is in that HBO special. I have not watched it yet. Some of those jail calls, I've not watched that special. So these are all of his trial exhibits or his notes and police reports and things that he's taking back with him into custody. And then the bailiffs are moving him out. You got to see the jury box there, empty jury box there briefly. So always helpful to see that at the end of the day. Let's go take a look at whether there's anything else released on YouTube before we have to go to Twitter for it, because it's always easier when we see it here. So let's see. This came out 1 hour ago. Let's go to this footage real quick. Let me take a swoopy doop. And we're going to go to body cam footage, the search of the gun room. So let me swoop. And we are taking a look at body cam footage that has been released. It's the search of the gun room. I believe this is released without audio because it was played in court without audio. So it's evidence at this point without audio. And we are pulling this over from Long Crime. But because it's evidence in a case, we know the rules. So this looks without audio, like the body cam that they were narrating through earlier today. There's the pool table with the weapons on it. Looks like there's a number of clothes on a clothes rack, which is interesting. Body cam always feels a little Blair Witchy to me. Was there an elliptical in there? So this is officers and lawyers all in the gun room. It looks like they're going outside. This is the stoop, the aforementioned stoop, which is really a whole lot of stairs.
By your feet.
Oh, by your feet.
I need to collect them. I saw one over here.
So this is by your feet.
Two right there.
And they're talking about discarded cartridges off of this
dynamic. All right, go ahead and pick
off
that
the
one up.
stoop. So now they're tagging and bagging the 300 blackout casings.
They've been there a little while. Could be 300. There's one to your right.
So right off the gun room, picking up the different casings that we heard earlier.
Yeah, 300. Yep. Yeah. And
I need these gentlemen to come over when I lose the back of an earring,
I think there's 5
because they
total.
cited that real quick. And yeah, real quick. They found that real quick.
Right here.
With the hydrangeas. They're lucky those hydrangeas aren't full, or they would have never seen those casings back there. Now we know what the high-pitched squeaking was. It was the bugs. We've got the sounds of summer. Why are there casings beside the steps? Because people were taking the guns out of the gun room and shooting out into that field.
Just trying to
Shooting out into the field. So sighting in and shooting.
Here to go.
Casings near the house? Yes, it sounds like they would go out of the gun room and shoot right there off the steps or off the stoop. That's what they argued. That's what they argued in opening. So they would have been ejected in that area. Wait, I want to know what kind of plants in the... Wait, what plant are they protecting over there? I want to see the... Can we see the gardening? No.
You bag them separately. Don't rub them together too much.
Look, I know Captain America is
Keep
looking for
them,
bullet
strong.
casings, and I'm here for it. But I'm curious as to what kind of plants are in the little tent. They're not hydrangeas. What are they? So, JR said the gun safety on this property is leaving a lot to be desired. Yep, they definitely did things their own way. So thank you all. Yeah, we haven't seen the other officer. We haven't seen Captain America testify yet, but I'm here for it. Doesn't have a beard. Might be the first male officer we've seen that does not have a beard, which would also be of note. Maybe it is the sunflowers. You're telling me, oh, those aren't hydrangeas, are they? Good call, chat. Court is over for the day. We are reviewing the body cam.
See if we can get one in each finger of this glove.
Footage.
It's a new glove.
They are preserving the casings in a glove because it seems like they don't have evidence bags.
Two.
So they're going one by one.
Three.
So they just opened up a glove, it seems like, and are putting.
I'm hot.
Four.
So they paused this video when they were going through it with the jury and showed them the evidence bags.
And
I'm sorry, I realize not all of you are looking at flowers. I get it. This was the one I was talking about, the one in the tent.
Okay.
So what, keep the animals out? I know y'all are here for Captain America. I hear you.
All right. Ties all crooked.
See, this is how the jury stayed more engaged because they could see the video. I was referring to Captain America's shirt.
How you doing, sir?
The gun room.
Bring Paul and Miss Maggie back home, and then from there,
And the lawyers and everybody is standing in here planning the funeral while the police are searching the property for weapons. It's not a.
So I'm not sure if it is scheduled for today. My guess.
They're talking about the autopsy.
Do you know, Jeff, on the autopsy?
Not yet, I don't.
My guess.
I can find out and let you know. I'll step outside and call and see if they've already made.
Yes, sir, in USC.
Yep, I'll step outside.
So I would imagine.
They identified all these people. The brother we've seen in court.
Okay, so that means they are in the process of doing it. They're already there. So, and they will come back home to y'all tonight. So then from there, you can.
There are clothes in here on what looks like an elliptical. And a
Some
towel.
of the tests take longer as far as any kind of toxicology or gun stuff, anything like that, that they may.
Be insensitive, but because there are two people, it will take.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting not open display either. And I haven't seen a passcode anywhere. And we need the passcode, or we need to know if there's a keypad anywhere. It could have been the truck because we heard it. We heard the keypad in.
No.
We heard the keypad in the 911 call, or a keypad of some kind.
I'm gonna step out and call and see if the.
Laura said, am I wrong for perking up at the Captain America viewing? Nope. Not at all. All right, it looks like that's all the video that we have at the moment. I'm sorry that there's not more of Captain America, y'all. Maybe we will get other parts of this later. But that is a better glimpse at what is in the gun room. The things I noticed, this is a very open case. We've got like a crossbow and stuff in there. They took ammo from different shelves. There's also weapons on the pool table. I'm sure that's not good for the felt, but I'm not an expert. There's also a number of clothes in here. And I wonder if they ever looked in here for, like, that looked like some kind of workout machine. But let me just go through the things that caught my attention real quick. I mean, there's golf clubs. I saw those, But when he turned around, oh, I went the wrong way. When he turned around, we got a view of the clothes that were back here in this corner. And that's what I'm looking for now is the clothing.
So I would imagine.
I'm sure there's more video.
About a half hour ago, they have not started it yet, is what Rich Harvey.
I didn't see it on the
that
door.
means they are in the process of doing it. They're already there. So, and they will come back home to y'all tonight.
I was trying to see
Then
the
from there,
clothes
you can,
that were over in this area right here. That is a lot of clothing. So there are jackets and shirts and stuff. I'm going to go back to the beginning when they first came in because we saw it more then. But these are the weapons on the table or on the pool table is covered. You're right. Y'all were like, no, it's covered. This is the ammo on the shelves. And there are more of these videos. I don't know if they're released, but there is felt covering that table. But back here, there are quite a lot of clothes. I don't know. And it looks like an elliptical that's being treated as a hanging rack, not shade, just facts. I'd be interested to know what clothes are back there and if they ever checked it. Did they ever go look through to see if clothes were put there? They absolutely could be hunting fatigues and stuff, but we don't know if they don't look. So we just don't know how many clothes are back there. And I don't know if they looked back there for clothes or discarded clothes. I'd want to know. I went to the wrong thing. I jumped out of the video. Let me go see if there's another one. Let's see. Let me go see if there's any other
Money.
videos of that. I know there will be more. I just don't see any more posted at the moment. So I just don't see it at the moment. So once we see those, we'll cover them. We can cover them in the morning. So I'm going to go do some other, or if that's where he got the clean clothes. Yes. Or if that's where he got the clean clothes. We don't know. I look very pink on screen today. I promise you I'm not that pink, but again, I changed my whole setup and my light keeps changing. So, it is what it is today. I would not be comfortable playing pool in that room. I mean, that's fair. I'm sure people are. But it's, again, this is their hunting property. So the property serves a purpose, and the purpose is to go up there and shoot, which is why they are finding casings all over. And we will see, there's video that I'm sure will come out later today or tomorrow of the officers searching through kind of the hunting room or the shooting shed or whatever they called it, that's out by the gun range, because they were just kind of searching wherever. How are clothes on the rack suspect? I would want to know. Look, they clearly don't suspect him yet, but they've got a very close timeline. If they suspected him of being a shooter, I would want them to go through looking at the clothes on the racks just to make sure there wasn't anything that could have been discarded, could have been changed into, anything that was unusual. It seemed like they went into the room and grabbed the guns they thought they might need and didn't really look at much else. I would have questions. So maybe they did. We just haven't heard it yet. So what you're getting is my questions that I would have looking through this. Paula asked way earlier in the day, is Maggie's family in the courtroom? I have not seen any reports of whether or not I have not seen any reports that Maggie has family in the courtroom. I have not seen anyone identified to be Maggie's family. They've never been in court. I don't know what they look like. So we want to keep at. I know. Y'all ain't right, said Emily. Is this normal? This doesn't seem right. I don't know which part, but the hunting cabin tracks. So the hunting cabin tracks, they're not required to have things locked. So the hunting cabin tracks, that doesn't seem strange to me. When I was young, everyone had guns in open racks. Half the folks I knew had open gun racks in their trucks too. Yeah, it's not, this is again, the US is very large, but this is regional differences. So that the hunting room doesn't strike me as odd. The thing I'd want law enforcement to look at is the racks of clothing. Could he have grabbed the white shirt from there? Could clothes have been stashed there, hoping they didn't see it? I don't know. Stephanie said the way he goes from crying, sobbing to level and even, it makes it seem more contrived. And I don't know, because sometimes I need to see his face. I need to see his face for that. Question, is the investigation still ongoing? No. For instance, if they were to find the murder weapon, could they bring it in as evidence? I mean, I don't think they're actively still looking for a murder weapon. This happened in June 2021. But if they did, they would have to test it and have a really good reason. It would have to be turned over to the defense. It might pause the trial. Amanda said taint attorney was not on my bingo card. Mine either. But I didn't really think about it when they did the cell phone dump of his phone. But yeah, you would have to have somebody make sure that there wasn't attorney-client privileged info on your phone. Y'all, Toriel said, y'all never commit a crime, if only for the fact that law enforcement could gain access to your nudie pics. I mean, even if you were a victim of crime, they might try to gain access to your phone. And also, secure your phone. And remember, you don't have to turn things over if you don't want to. Not legal advice, just a reminder. Just a reminder. So let's see. Didn't Maggie consult with a divorce attorney? We don't know. Did Maggie consult with a divorce attorney? That's been the rumor, but I don't know if there's any evidence of that at all, and if we'll see any evidence of that at all. So I don't know. I've heard rumors, but rumors aren't going to come in at court, and we just have really no way to know. No way to know until somebody tries to introduce it into evidence. And if they do, they do. And if they don't, they don't. Rule of life. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's what you know about who you know. Golden Girl, it's a fair point. Lindsay Marshall said this judge was wonderful in the case for Samantha Josephson. I've heard that repeatedly. This judge has a very, very good reputation. I believe his daughter is also a judge. And I have heard that this judge's son passed away not that long before this trial. I talked about that in the podcast last week. A new podcast will be out on Wednesday this week. I'm trying to remain neutral, says LK, but as a family member of a murder victim, his way of talking about it makes me uncomfortable, makes my skin crawl. I'm sorry that you've been through that. It's a lot. And I'm sure this trial can be triggering, but it is interesting. It is interesting. I can't believe we're still in direct examination of this second witness. We haven't gotten very far today. A lot has happened, but a lot has happened. Like a lot has happened. Dana Love said, hell, in some states, the first day of hunting season might as well be a holiday. Owning that many guns is nothing. That's a very fair point. Blueberries. Yes. I'm worried about the jury. Couldn't Alec or a family friend pay one of them off? He did ask the jury at the beginning of the day if anyone had been contacted. I don't think it would go well if anyone attempted to do that. Could that happen in any case when we're dealing with people of money, power, and influence? Yes, it can. It's unlikely, but it can. The attorney on the right looks like he was about to fall asleep. I think Poot, once they put the video on, Poot was like, I've seen this video enough. It's like when your substitute t-shirt puts on a video and it's like, okay, class, it's time for a nap. So did the prosecution finish this witness today? No, they didn't. No, they did not. Emily, Rob just said they posted some photos. I will go look before we wrap up for the day, but I'm going to get to some questions and then wrap up. Susan says AR does not mean assault rifle. It stands for Armalite rifle. Thank you, Suzanne. Uncharged Pickles. I'm so glad this judge has not become the unexpected comical star of this court case. This judge has been great. Oh, I should also we've moved to questions. Though we're going to probably go through more bits of evidence and we'll tag those too, but we'll see what we get. But we moved on to questions. I should have, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. Quick bit. That's not the right bumper, Emily. Also, thank you for all of you that have subscribed today. I absolutely see that in our sub numbers, so thank you. I appreciate it. Every time I hear Stretch Break, this song from Mickey Mouse Funhouse gets stuck in my head. I want to start silly dancing. Is it which one am I thinking of? This one? Parents, you know what I mean. It sounds like he said, I did. It's so bad. We'll see. Question, if they truly thought he was slipping up and confessing, why didn't they try to confirm what he said at the time? I think they would just let him keep talking because they don't want him to know that they think that. seems like more of a jumble of words to me than a slip up. It might be. They might not have perceived it at the time when they were talking until they went and looked back at it, because the officer has a lot of things going on in their head. They might not want to confront him and alert him to the fact that he messed up because they want to keep talking to him. If Alec Murdaugh thought that they thought, this is so hard to explain. It makes more sense in my head. But if Murdaugh thought that the police were on to him thinking he was a suspect, he is much less inclined to continue talking to them, and they need him to continue talking to them. So them starting to change their questioning and treat him more like a suspect isn't going to go well for their future desire to interview him. And they're in the middle of downloading his cell phone. They don't want him to be like, I'm not consent. Don't give it back. I'm not doing it. They need this. They need that. Is this whole trial abnormally disorganized, or have we just spoiled with Ben, Chu, and Camille, and now my expectations are too high? This trial has been different. Both sides have had their moments. This has been a little different. So we'll see. Tiffany asked, why is the blood spatter analysis bad? There are issues with the blood spatter analysis witness. And I went through the entire motion in, I believe it's last week's podcast. So instead of summarizing it, I will just cite you back to CEG, the Emily show. It's sloppy. And the motion points out that it's sloppy. We don't have the government's response. I've only gone through the defense's motion, but the government agreed before they did evidentiary motions. The government agreed that they would not bring up the blood spatter and the blood spatter analysis until they had an evidentiary hearing. So if they want to bring in that witness, there's going to be a whole hearing on the motion for sanctions and other things. Thank you, Mepon. Hot dog. Diggity dog. That one. Yes. But is that the stretch break song that we're thinking of? Is that what we're thinking of? I don't know. Question, is the only way we can get clarification on that slip up is if Alec testifies? Yes. Well, the defense can speculate, and the defense can cross-examine this witness and then cross-examine the interviewing witness. But there are ways that they can cross-examine those witnesses and say, could it possibly be this? So that might happen. Question, what did you hear on the recording playback? I made notes, and I want to go listen to it again when I'm not also streaming because it's easier for my brain. I heard, it's just so bad. I did it so bad, not I did them so bad. So I want to see the video and then go back and listen. But I also didn't catch it the first time until the prosecutor paused because I am streaming. So I'm trying to facilitate both. So that's why for things like that, I want to go back and listen before I really give too much more on that, because I really do want to go back and listen to it. All right. Dick will testify about it while cross-examining. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Question, is there such a thing as a language expert that could clarify? Not likely. That's up to the jury to decide, or the defendant to testify. That's not what I said. But I don't think Murdaugh's going to testify. I don't think he can. As far as grief, we all grieve differently. So that part, crying, not crying, it doesn't hold against him. I have reasonable doubt so far. And I think that's fair. The waves of emotion, I want to see in video, but I don't hold against him either as like it's coming off and on too quickly. I try not to judge that because he has other indicia of it. He has other indicia of it. He has voice cracking and things like that are much harder to fake. Does that mean it can't be faked? No, but it's harder to fake. Also, whether he did it or not, his son and wife have been killed. I think a lot of that grief is genuine. So I think a lot of that grief is genuine. There's actually a stretch break song. I will have to go look. It's been a while. What do you mean by you don't think he can testify? I don't think he can. He's got so many cases pending and he's made contradictory statements to police. I think it could be much, much worse for him if he does testify, given how much else is going on. I think it opens too many doors if he testifies. And I think those doors should probably remain shut. If I'm the defense right now, there's no way I want him to testify. The prosecution has a long way to go to fill in some of the questions and the holes. He hasn't done that yet. The prosecution is somebody was talking about it easier, just flipping over the puzzle pieces. They're not putting them together just yet. And Alec really, especially if he gets aggravated and mad, could really damage his case if he testifies. And why put him at risk like that? So if I'm the defense attorney, I am not at all asking him to testify. Matt Bond said, I can clear audio. I will go listen to it again. When we have the video, I think it'll be easier. I want to see him testifying. Leslie Ann, I was keeping an open mind until he mentioned Clemson. We appreciate your humor. I'm here for it. I'm here for the shade of the schools. I'm a Gamecock. If you know, you know. It's a Carolina thing. It's totally fair, and I'm here for a little light-hearted college banter. Let's see. Net protects flowers, probably azaleas from the deer. To this is all just so typical of a Southern hunting culture. Can see my pops just asking his law enforcement friends to keep an eye out for the gun. And he did. Isn't that interesting? Was the gun ever reported stolen? No, I just kind of messaged my buddies and said, hey, if this gun shows up in anything, it's missing. Not need for a formal investigation. And you know what? This is why we are not their jury. This is not where most of us live. Some of y'all live there. This is not where most of us live. So for the jury, it might be like, oh yeah, well, I mean, he basically reported it. He let them know it was missing. That's all you need. You don't need like a written report. This is fine. This is why you have juries in the locality where the things are happening who aren't going to read more into that if that is absolutely what one would expect. So that's why. That's part of why we don't have, the rest of the internet judging a case. So, question, I'm going to the courtroom tomorrow. Is there anything I should look for in the jury? Lindsay Lyons, the thing I always look for in a jury is when they perk up, when they don't, how they respond to each attorney, how they respond to the attorney's questioning. That is always very interesting to me. Can't stop talking. Sounds like my life. Does Maggie's family support Alec? We have no idea where they've been. We have no idea where they've been and really no idea how they felt. They have kept very quiet, and I can absolutely understand why. So, Suzanne said it's a small town. Everyone knows everyone. Right, which is why maybe not having a look. It is always my suggestion that if something like that goes missing, even if you think it's probably not stolen, you need to report it to police. But also, he's like, well, we told people about it. That might be enough, and the jury might be like, well, it's as good as reported. So, Cindy said this is a normal rural Southern attitude, and the jury is a normal rural Southern jury, and that's important for him. Question, could his reaction now be related to his own gunshot to the head area? I imagine he is probably having some issues, innocent, guilty, or hired guilty. I don't know if he is having any physical issues due to that. It seemed like it was a graze wound. His attorney said it was more serious. So really, truly, I just don't know, and I don't think we will know. I don't think it'll come up, and I don't think the suicide for hire will come up in this case. I don't. So, Alec mentioned the drug and gun crimes. I think he was setting up Cousin Eddie. Maybe Alec's now been indicted for several gun crime or drug crimes. So has Cousin Eddie. And there has been a lot with him getting indicted in drug crimes. A lot of speculation about what he was dealing with that. You should be a Tennessee volunteer. I know. We're from the West Coast. We're shifting it. Look, I sang Rocky Top the other day wrongly. We're working on it. Question, have they mentioned the cameras that the PI hired by the Mallory Beach civil attorney placed facing their front door? No, they have not. And I have not heard anything about that in this case. It said they have no cameras. So we will see. I'm going to get to a couple. The chat is like, go Gamecocks, go Vols, boo Tigers. I'm here for all of the college playful banter. Unseen King, I can't tell if it's an I or the Southern not enough for me to make up my mind one way or the other. It's a good point that needs to be paid attention to by the jury down the road. I'm sure many people have shot guns there before and left the spent casings on the ground. How does this tie it to a family weapon if no weapon found? Ashley, the casings found by Maggie Murdaugh's body have the same tool marks and etchings as the casings found near the house and as casings found near the shooting range. So a gun that has been shot on the property, and they know that those family members owned 2 of that style guns. One is there and one is missing after the murders. So that is why they are tying it there, and that's what they said in their opening statements. If Maggie had a divorce attorney, are they allowed to share that info? No. Or does that stay attorney-client privilege? Attorney-client privilege stays in effect. Now, it doesn't mean that somebody that she was a friend of didn't say she's going to visit this person and that person's a divorce attorney. Somebody in the building saw her. There's camera footage of her going into a divorce attorney's office that you can't say what they met about. You could say she was there. But unless he knew about it, it's difficult. So there's footage in the HBO documentary. I'll have to take a look. I will have to take a look for work purposes at HBO Plus so I can answer some of those questions. I will take a look. So the gun conveniently being missing is an odd quirk because they didn't say it was missing. And in that interview, Alec was saying, I think I replaced it. So there are definitely some questions left here. There are going to be questions. There might be questions till the end. It's the more questions there are, the harder it is for the prosecution to prove their case. They need to start answering some of those questions. I'm going to see if there is anything else that we did not see together before I wrap up for the day. So let me just go check the interwebs real fast and see, and then we are going to wrap up, and I'm going to go see my kiddos. Let's see. Let's see. Where is what I am looking for? That's not what I'm looking for. My brain has stopped for the day. My brain has been like, I'm done for the day. Let's see. No, where was I looking earlier? I'm going to go look 2 more places, and then we are going to yeet. Let's see what Avery had to say. If there's any other photos. Nope. Let's see. I don't see anything else that is on the interwebs that we need to cover. So with that, I think we are going to wrap up and get back to it tomorrow. It has been quite a lot. We will get back into court in the morning. So I will be back at like 8:25 a.m. Central, 9:25 Eastern, and then all the other time zones. But again, my brain has stopped. Court is done for the day, so it is probably time to get going. So with all of that, I appreciate all of you and thank you. Just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being law nerds. Thank you for being interested in this case. The episodes I've talked about of the Emily Show podcast are up on this channel. If they are related to this case, they are also in the playlist with regard to this case. If you need the summaries, they're on the Quick Bits podcast. And with that, it's probably a good time to stop. My throat is tired, and now I can go get my kiddo. So I am going to go do that so he doesn't have to walk all the way home by himself from the bus. So with that, thank you all. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at The Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts, The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. You know, when you only have time for just the quick bits.